from the studio. Then we'll have the tag out as we customarily do, and he'll be here later on in the show. But we invite you to be here. The doors open at 11 o'clock on this National Taco Tuesday. $3 mix and match tacos. Pat Smith, all that you can eat to your heart's desire.
Come up and see us. We'll be here until 2 o'clock, National Taco Day. Should be a lot of fun. We're going to be joined in just a couple minutes, in about 5 minutes to be exact. A lot of people have been texting in. They've been asking me when Mike Griffith is going to be on the show, and he is scheduled to be on the show at 10:05. So we will talk to Mike about, he predicted Georgia to beat Alabama. He had some interesting things to say on the Paul Feinbaum show last week. I think it was on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll see what he has to say that Georgia is now trying to lick its wounds as they get ready for Auburn this weekend.
Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of mood Mike's going to be in. I know he doesn't take this personally. He's covered the SEC, he still covers the SEC. It's not like he's a diehard Georgia fan, but it will be interesting to see what he thought about the defensive plan coming out and the lack of the ability to be able to defend Jalen Milroe. When you know he's going to have the ball, he's going to either run it, he's going to throw it. What are you going to do with a dynamic player? And Kirby Smart and folks, they could not get that figured out the other night.
No, they couldn't. So, it's a situation with Georgia as they get ready. They're still a big favorite against Auburn coming up this weekend. You think that Auburn, with obviously going on the road for the first time, kind of being away from maybe the outside noise of what's going on down on the plains at Jordan-Hare Stadium. So we'll see if Auburn can put together the type of game plan they had last year, Landrum, because even with McConkey and Bowers, Auburn took that game late, and they really gave Georgia fits last year. Defensively played really well. Offensively, they did enough to obviously keep them in the game. So we'll see if they can put that together this week between the hedges.
Well, you just wonder how much fuel's in the tank, and maybe not so much physically, and I know that they had to play a physical game against Oklahoma, but mentally, psychologically, where is this team right now? And Hugh Freeze trying to keep that team in the right mindset and keep that locker room together. Not that we've heard anything otherwise, but it's just it's a human nature thing. And losing 3 games that you felt like you should have won at home, and now going into the environment that they know that they're going to face in Sanford Stadium on Saturday as 24-point road underdogs, that has got to be taxing on their minds and thinking about the next 3 weeks of going on the road and the schedule and what lies down the road.
Yeah, I mean, listen, none of us predicted that they'd be 2-3 right now. I don't think Hugh Freeze, if he was hooked up to a lie detector test, I don't think he would have said that they would have probably been, worst case scenario, 4-1? So that's what we all thought.
Yeah.
Maybe Oklahoma would get them at home, but unfortunately they're 2-3 heading into a brutal month of October before they can come back home. They do have a bye week worked in, all this tough schedule, so we'll see how they play this weekend against Georgia.
Yeah, and if somehow you can get 2 of the 3, you get a win over Missouri, and that would be an upset. Heck, at this point, a win over Kentucky and Lexington, but we think that both of those games are gettable. If somehow you can go 2-1 on this 3-game road trip, then that puts you at 4-4. Coming back home, and with Vanderbilt, La Monroe, Texas A&M, we know Alabama on the road. They're at the end of the season, but try to salvage what has started as an otherwise very uneventful and underwhelming start to the 2024 season for Hugh Freeze and the Tigers.
Joining us now on the Buyers Right Hotline, he covers the Southeastern Conference for the AJC, DogNation.com. Mike Griffith joins us here on Three Man Front. Mike, I hope your trip to Tuscaloosa was a pleasant one.
Oh, no doubt. It was awesome. The fans were incredible. The atmosphere was so loud. It reminded me so much of that Texas game last year. And, but this time the Tide got it done, and Jalen Milroe looked like he knew what he was doing. I mean, what a fantastic performance. I mean, talk about next level. And I guess the only thing I keep asking myself is, man, maybe what if Kalen DeBoer had been calling the plays in the national title game? I think they'd have another national title right now.
Well, it's interesting because you were there covering the game last year between Texas and Alabama. How, just kind of take us from what you saw from Jalen Milroe last year to this year, just the improvement that you saw for your own eyes in that stadium.
Well, you got a coach that knows how to use them. And, last year they didn't. And that was pretty clear at the start. And, I was kind of tough on Coach Saban saying, everybody said it was his best coaching job ever. And I said, gosh, at the start of the year it sure wasn't. And, that Texas game was case in point. Tommy Rees just didn't know what he was doing with them. But, boy, Kalen DeBoer has really found the sweet spot on keeping Jalen Milroe motivated, productive. I don't know if he could do that every game in terms of 16 carries, but, if there was a night to leave it all out on the field, Milroe picked the right one, and just one of the best performances I've ever seen in a big-time football game by any quarterback.
Mike, I can remember having this conversation when you joined our show, and this was post-spring, and you brought up an interesting question. You said, what if Alabama is actually better under Kalen DeBoer than they were under Nick Saban, at least last year? You saw it with your own eyes, and through just four games this season. What is the verdict for you?
Well, I mean, the defense leaves a lot to be desired. I think it's, again, I don't know that that's a championship defense, but that there's time if Milroe plays like that. But, boy, I just don't know if you can ask him to play that well and be that productive in every single game. Ryan Williams is obviously – I'm not so sure Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams aren't the two best players in the country right now. That combination was unbelievable. I mean, it was almost like Milroe just flipped a switch and said, okay, we got to do this again now. Let me throw this downfield and beat another corner. And that's a good Georgia defense. It's not their best defense. It's not the 21 defense or even the 22 defense, but that's a pretty good defense. They hadn't given up a touchdown through three quarters, but boy, Kalen DeBoer hit him up with 5 wide, and, Kirby admitted after the game he wasn't ready for that. That's coaching and that's scheming, and you got to give credit where it's due with Kalen DeBoer for having those guys ready to play that way and having those plays ready and knowing where to exploit Georgia. I mean, he got the drop on Kirby. There's no two ways about it.
All right, there's no question in the second half, Carson Beck got warmed up. He felt more comfortable, started going to some guys that he relied on heavily there in the second half. But what did you see in the first half? What was Alabama doing that really unnerved him and just made him not look like a Heisman Trophy potential candidate?
Well, I thought Carson lost some confidence there when Arian Smith dropped that perfectly thrown 48-yard pass. And if Georgia answers on that opening possession, who knows what happens in terms of what type of game it turns into. But, when you got guys that are dropping the ball and, and then on the other possession they call the audible and the crowd noise kicks in. And, Kirby usually does a pretty good job with crowd noise in terms of telling his guys, hey, there's certain plays you don't run when it gets too loud, just in case somebody misses the audible. And that's what happened on that interception there that Alabama had at the 23. So, you gave Alabama, basically the ball in your red zone. That's 7 points. You dropped a 48-yard pass. That's at least a 3-point drop, right? You give up a safety, which turns into a turnover because they get the ball. Now you're up to 12. I mean, right there's 14, 17 points that Georgia just gave away. And you just can't do that on the road, much less at Alabama. I don't know if there's ever been another game where a team's trailed 28-0 and was -3 in turnover margin and came back and took a lead. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, and the AJC. He covers the SEC, joining us here on Three Man Front. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right hotline. So, Hugh Freeze, the struggles of Auburn. We know what happened inside of Jordan Hare last year going up against that Georgia football team. But what is your best guess? Was this I guess you would call it a wake-up call for Georgia? They knew Alabama was really good. Where do you think the mindset is of this Georgia football team heading in not only to this weekend playing at home and hosting Auburn, but the foreseeable future and the rest of the schedule?
Well, I mean, I think they were plenty awake when they went to Alabama. They just ran into a better team and a better quarterback. And, there was no need for a wake-up call. You just got to you just got to give credit to Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams. I mean, that's going to be a tough combination for anybody to beat when they're playing good football. So I don't think it was a wake-up call. I think that was letting Georgia know where they were. Michael Williams is healthy. Who knows? You get one disruptive guy in there. But the bottom line is you're going to have to score with Alabama. This is reminding me of those Spurrier teams. You're not going to – you better be ready to score points and score them fast and forget about this, we'll build up to it or we'll set it up stuff. As far as Georgia, they go back to work. They've got a model here in place. It's a confident group. They know everything they want is still in front of them. But, you got to win these games. You got to beat Auburn at home. It's only their second home game of the year. at Sanford Stadium. So, they'll have a good crowd there for that. It's a rivalry game. Kirby does a good job against these rivals. I think he's lost one to Auburn back in 2017, the regular season. So I think there's still a confidence that Georgia can still achieve everything. But you saw it. I mean, they got work to do. I mean, Carson Beck didn't look like an NFL quarterback. He had too many mistakes. And, Kirby's defense, for all it accomplished through the 3 games, I mean, they were, beat to the edges, by Milroe, really special runner, and have work to do in their secondary, I think, to get their best 11 out there. So, the irony to me is that Alabama with Kalen DeBoer looked like the team that had a 9th-year coach that had a system in place, and Georgia looked like a team, that was only playing their 4th or 5th game just because of the mistakes, uncharacteristic as they were, just because of the mistakes they made. And Kirby said that was his worst game since his first year as a head coach. So, got to give Alabama credit for that. They made a lot of things happen fast.
So we saw it last year, Mike, after Alabama's loss to Texas. You had so many people around that program just not used to losing, especially losing at Bryant-Denny Stadium like they did. Georgia being the powerful team that they have been over the course of the last few years in the SEC. But for whatever reason, they cannot get over the hump of beating Alabama, now losers of 9 of the last 10 games against the Tide. Can you put a finger on the pulse of what kind of magic Alabama has over this Georgia program right now?
Yeah, great players and good coaches. I mean, that's the magic. I mean, Georgia had a 6'4" transfer from Miami going up for a ball against a 6-foot freshman, true freshman, and Alabama's true freshman won the play. Right? I mean, you got to win that play. Georgia has a 4th-year senior, Arian Smith, drop a 48-yard pass. Ryan Williams, a true freshman, catches his 67-yard. You got to have guys that make plays. And right now, in these big games, the Alabama quarterbacks have played better. I thought Milroe outplayed Carson last year with some clutch plays. Some people debated that, but I don't think there's any debate. You change quarterbacks, and how many points does Georgia win by? When you think about it, to have 3 interceptions and a fumble from your quarterback and a safety, and you still only lose by 7 on the road, I think that says a lot. If you're Georgia, I guess that's what you might try to take comfort in is, gosh, you didn't play your best game, but, flip side of that, it was 30-7 at halftime. Alabama's game plan would have been different if they didn't have a 23-point lead. So, I don't know where this goes for both of these teams. These seasons now are such long journeys. So much would have to happen again if they were to rematch in the SEC title game or the playoff. These teams' complexions could be completely different. If I'm Alabama, though, I know this. I'm going to be careful with Jalen Milroe. I mean, you can't run it 16 times a game. I'm protecting that guy. He's the franchise. Right now, he's the best player in the country, and they're going to be awful tough to beat as long as he's healthy.
Elsewhere in the SEC, and I heard you on national shows, and you were talking leading up to the week about Mark Stoops bringing in that Kentucky defense to Oxford, Mississippi, and that the Ole Miss Rebels and Lane Kiffin needed to be on upset alert, and you were kind of shooed away. Like that was nonsense. That wasn't going to happen with Ole Miss as then a 17.5-point favorite. You must have been smiling just a little bit, maybe shaking your head, if either you were watching that game on Saturday or when you saw that score come across the ticker that Kentucky had upset Ole Miss.
Yeah, I was even though I knew Kentucky would put up a fight, I didn't think they'd have the firepower. But you got to give Brock Vandagriff a lot of credit. He's a gamer. He's a good quarterback, and Kentucky's making those plays to sustain drives. And you could see the Ole Miss frustration when they weren't able to hit those plays downfield. They had to earn it, and they hadn't played anybody. And I think their schedule caught up with them a little bit. The fact that they really hadn't played anybody of merit that was much of a test, and so they hadn't really been exposed in any areas. And Kentucky exposed it all in one day and played a good football game. And it comes down to a kicker, and anytime you put it in the hands of a kicker, you never know what will happen, and Ole Miss missed. And all of a sudden, now we wonder if Ole Miss is a college football playoff team, right? I mean, this is what happens. You get that first loss, and, your margin for error goes down. Heck, if you're Georgia, you probably got to take 2 out of 3 against, Tennessee, Texas, and Ole Miss. You got to win 2 of those 3 games to assure yourself of a playoff spot. So, it's interesting to see how Ole Miss stumbled. You wonder what they'll do this week. I think they play at South Carolina if they're able to bounce back. or did we take Kentucky serious now? Right? Was the outlier game South Carolina? So it's a lot of fun. It's a long season for these coaches to manage, but man, I'd say Kalen DeBoer passed his first test in flying aces. I've never seen a first quarter like that in a top 5 game. Maybe, I guess you'd have to go back to when Alabama put it on Oklahoma in the 2018 playoffs. I think they scored, 28 points in 16 minutes or something like that on the Kyler Murray team? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to go back for a game like that. So that was an unbelievable performance, though. I can't get over it. I feel like I saw something, that I'll always remember back to that game, kind of like the Cam Newton game against Alabama when he brought him from behind in the second half.
Yeah.
Very, very
well
much.
said. Mike Griffith, DogNation.com and the AJC at Mike Griffith 32 there on X. Mike, we always appreciate the time. Thank you for making it.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
You as well. Mike Griffith, all of our guests, they join us on the Buyers Right Hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
All right, so let's set the table for the rest of the program. Coming up at 11, Jeffrey Lee from Auburn Live on 3 Sports. He will join us, give us a preview from the Auburn perspective, getting ready for Georgia. Evie Van Pelt from the Rebel Walk at 12:30. She'll tell us how Ole Miss is getting ready for South Carolina. And at 1 o'clock, Gentry Estes. He's a columnist for the Tennessean up in Nashville. He was actually in South Beach last night. He was covering the Titans and the Dolphins. We're going to talk to him, a little NFL with him, but also about what's going to happen this weekend as Alabama comes to the Music City to take on Vandy, and how the people are feeling about Tennessee right now. So we've got a very, very busy show. This is National Taco Day. We're live at Social Taco on Homewood. Come by and see us. The doors open at 11. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5.
There you go, Conrad. National Taco Day, live from Social Taco. Very fitting. Here at Homewood. Up top in the terrace, the doors open at 11 o'clock. The $3 mix and match combination tacos. However you want to pair them, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to judge you. SocialTaco.bar for more information. Also want to remind you about Coleman Oktoberfest coming up this Thursday through Saturday. And each day, Jocks is giving one listener a pair of Ultimate Hofbrauhaus Experience Passes. That's a 3-day pass with commemorative glass stein and $15 food and drink vouchers. Text the keyword FEST, that's F-E-S-T, to 205-834-9450 to enter to win. That's FEST, F-E-S-T, to 205-834-9450 for your chance to win. Coleman Oktoberfest this Thursday through Saturday in Coleman, Alabama, presented by Visit Coleman. It's Alabama's largest Oktoberfest. 2 covered beer gardens with live music. Huge kids zone with a Ferris wheel, authentic German cuisine, and over 80 vendors. Also contest and wiener dog races. ColemanOktoberFestival.com. That's October with a K, festivalthere.com. And we appreciate them. That should be a lot of fun.
1-800-239-WJOX. That is the number to reach us if you'd like to participate via the text line. The GMC, the Courtesy GMC out in Trussville, their text line is 205-834-9450. And Molly, I know we still have texts left over that we couldn't get to yesterday as we wrapped up the show about Alabama's win against Georgia.
Yeah, let's start with Terry from Decatur. I hate to point out the obvious, but our clock management and play calling down the stretch almost cost us the game. Thank goodness Ryan Williams saved our butts. We were fortunate.
Conrad, what did you think about Alabama's maybe some of the play calling, maybe a little bit more conservative there in the second half?
Yeah, I wasn't a particularly big fan of it in the second half because, again, I think we all knew that when you're playing a team like Georgia, no lead is really all that safe. And, yeah, I know somebody brought it up yesterday, but you had a couple of little trick plays where you saw they were trying to get cued, and I think, like a lot of Alabama fans, I was sitting there going, this is not the time for that. I know you're up big against Georgia, but this is not the time. On top of just the decision to kind of play call more conservatively, but then not let the clock tick down before you're hiking the ball, there were some things that I think can be improved upon.
Jackson from Montgomery. Ryan Williams should be in the same conversation as Milroe for Heisman. Best true freshman wide receiver at Bama since Julio. Correct me if you disagree.
Well, I will tell you this. So each week, The Athletic, they do a Heisman straw poll. And this week, Travis Hunter is number 1. He got the most first-place votes with 19. Total points was 67. Jalen Milroe comes in at number 2, according to their straw poll. Ashton Jeanty from Boise having a tremendous year out west. He came in at number 3. Cam Ward from Miami at 4. And at number 5, Ryan Williams.
It's tough for me to remember, and even though Alabama's had unbelievable wide receivers, just for me personally and watching them play, remembering a guy where it seems like no matter if you know it's coming, whatever you want to try to do to take it away, if he wants to get by you, he's going to, and he's going to light you up for a big play. Maybe David Palmer, because every time when the Deuce touched the ball back when I was growing up and watching him play, you held your breath because you absolutely felt pretty certain he was going to take it to the house.
Yeah, you're right.
Leland and Pelham. I was having flashbacks of the Iron Bowl 2010 Saturday night. Glad it turned out differently than that game. What a statement to the rest of the SEC. Bama is still Bama.
It started feeling a lot like it, didn't it, Landrum? I mean, the Iron Bowl from 2010 there at Bryant-Denny. Alabama jumped up to the huge lead over Cam Newton. Everybody's celebrating. Everybody's having a good time inside of Bryant-Denny Stadium. Then all of a sudden it turned on a dime and Cam got it going. And, man, that was quite a comeback for Auburn in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, it was. That's a miserable feeling as a fan, because how many Alabama fans were sitting there going, oh, can you imagine if they hang on or if they win this game, what people will be saying? That's just a miserable feeling. I would rather just start to finish, just beat the brakes off of my team. Don't give me any glimmer of hope. We can get into that later, but
Micah from Birmingham. Kirby was very complimentary about after the loss about Bama and the crowd. Went on and on about Milroe and Williams. Didn't say it was a fluke and he took responsibility for the loss, and he didn't throw his quarterback under the bus.
No, he didn't. He was extremely complimentary of Alabama, the stadium, the atmosphere. Obviously, he was disappointed his team didn't play better, but he was, at least in the second half, Landrum, he was happy enough to say, okay, we've got something to work with here, because if they would have only scored 7 or 10 or 14 points against Alabama, I think Kirby would have been fit to be tied after the game.
Well,
not about Alabama, but just the fact that his football team just did not play 60 minutes of good football.
Players not executing is one, but somebody like Kirby Smart, who prides himself on game planning and checking every box and being so thorough like Nick Saban was, and knowing that you got out-coached. I mean, that's not Mike said what? That was the first time since,
I guess he said since Auburn beat him.
Yeah, 2017 when they went down there, where he felt like he truly got out-coached. So Kirby, at the end of the day, you got to tip your hat to the other side. And look, they know, as Mike mentioned, you got to win. You got to win 2 out of 3 games. You win 2 out of 3 games, and you're going to be, of those big games, you're going to be in the college football playoff.
Well, one thing's for sure, they feel a whole heck of a lot better about going to Oxford, Mississippi.
You daggum right they do.
So I mean, now you're
Jackson Dart in that offense. Hello, we played Alabama. Whatever y'all want to throw.
Jackson Dart's not going to be getting to the edge like Jalen Milroe did.
No.
But you're right. I think they have to. I mean, we talked about how Alabama, we felt Bama needed to at least split between Georgia and Tennessee. So they got that one. Kind of like your doubleheader yesterday with the Mets.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, you got some money in the bank now. Let's, try to go take care of Tennessee. But if you're a Georgia fan, it's about, okay, you've already taken one on the chin. You can't lose to Ole Miss. And then the Texas game is still in play, which was going to be in play from the get-go anyway.
Thomas in Sylacauga. Beck turned the ball over 4 times and could have been 7 or 8. Have never seen the level of intoxication by people about his ability. We're undefeated with an average quarterback. Lack of portal quarterback this offseason was a huge mistake that keeps hurting us. Freeze and his arrogance being some type of offensive guru is laughable.
Well, let's go back to Beck, the first part of that text. He was very fortunate to get out of there with only the ones that, I can think off the top of my head, I think there was at least, 2 others that I think Campbell might have had his hand on, and then Malachi Moore.
Yeah.
Remember when Malachi came over and double covered on the backside and came up and ball was knocked out of his hands? So, it could have been a lot worse.
And going back to the latter part of that text, I said it yesterday, and I thought the plan was really good by the Auburn offensive staff and how they attacked Oklahoma. And they had more success against Oklahoma than you could argue than anybody else has had this season, in a way that they were to do it. The unfortunate part is you didn't run the ball when you needed to run the ball and preserve that game.
Bennett in Tuscaloosa. Georgia may be in trouble, not this week, but tough trips to Austin and Oxford will be a test. If they lose 3, they're done and out of the CFP. No way around it.
Well, now that Ole Miss has lost to Kentucky, if they were to lose, let's just say they beat Texas, talking about Georgia, but they lose in Oxford, that one could sting. That one might hurt them.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing, I do think that Georgia beats Ole Miss later in the season. The unfortunate thing for Ole Miss is you don't really control your own destiny at that point. And then you're just hoping some of those other fringe teams or whoever's 11, 12, 13, 14 in the conversation, that your resume is better than theirs. And if you've got Tennessee still trending, if you got Alabama, Texas, and Georgia, you're probably going to be the one on the outside looking in.
Dawson in Homewood says, our 4th down defense was brutally bad against Georgia. Hard to come away from that game not thinking we have problems if we don't get that fixed.
It was weird. Alabama was stopping them on 3rd down. I was trying to find the stat. I think, were they 5 for 5 on 4th down, Georgia?
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Because
which was
both teams
crazy.
were abysmal on third down, but that's what
Georgia,
ultimately did it for Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia was 3 of 15 on third down. They were successful on 5 times on fourth down. Their most in a game in 20 years. It's crazy. But like Kirby said after the game,
How many times you? Yeah.
second half, we viewed third down as second down.
Right.
So that's the way they were approaching it.
One more, Nick from Birmingham. Am I the only one that thinks the Vandy game this week is a huge trap game? It will be a tougher task that some guys probably think it's going to be.
Well, that's why they put rat traps all around the Malmore facility.
So Alabama, since 2007, the Tide has posted a record of 62-11 following a ranked win. So that is winning 85% of their games after a ranked win. So by saying it's a ranked opponent, you would think, okay, well, you got it for the ranked opponent. Maybe the next week, the letdown, you're not going to be as focused. Now, there's been plenty of times in that time frame from 2007 where you've played back-to-back. Like, for instance, last year, Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, but then they played Michigan the next game and lost.
I think, and call me crazy, but I think it's better for Alabama, their mindset going in, that you built the big lead and then you had your life flash before your eyes and you had Georgia come back and you actually looked at the reality that you could lose a football game. They've got enough to work on this week where I think that they're going to take Vanderbilt at surface level and they'll play a game like it's a meaningful game. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. We will continue to take your text messages on the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. We are live at Social Taco. Doors will open up at the top of the hour. Come by and see us. We're located on the Taco Terrace here on the second level of Social Taco in Homewood. More three-man front on this Tuesday, Jocks 94.5. Pete Rose passed away yesterday at the age of 83 years old. He was in Las Vegas. He was at a card show the day before with a lot of his former Cincinnati Reds teammates, signing autographs and being a active member of that card show. And one of his family members found him, according to the Clark County, Nevada coroner. 83 years old. So as you just heard on that montage, he had been banned from the Hall of Fame since 1989. So since 1989, he has had no chance. A couple times he met with the commissioner in regards to try to get that overturned, and it was unsuccessful. So Pete Rose, I was very fortunate. I got to see Pete Rose numerous times play. Back when I was really young, the Cardinals were in the National League East, so were the Philadelphia Phillies. So got to see a lot of the Phillies in St. Louis. Got to see a lot of Mike Schmidt. Got a lot to see, Pete Rose playing first base, and he was something else. I mean, just Charlie Hustle, running on the field, off the field. Just every single play was playing like he had his hair on fire. Just an incredible baseball player.
And I can remember vaguely watching Pete Rose play, and this would have been, and I would have been young, but towards the tail end of his career. But I do remember it being a big deal on that September 11th of 1985 when he picked up the milestone and what people always said about him and Charlie Hustle. And then watching the documentary that they did, and it shows you both sides of Pete Rose. Pete Rose, the player, kind of tells you from a young age his upbringing and maybe gives you a little bit of an explanation of why he was the way that he was. But one thing's for certain, the guy went out, and it didn't matter situationally what the circumstances were in a game when he was playing. He was going to give it his all. But also Pete Rose, the person, he could have made things a lot easier on himself. And hard-headedness was certainly one of his traits, but that also made him the dynamic player that he was. But it's a shame. I think most people will always regard him as one of the best to ever play the game. So you can have him enshrined there in Cooperstown, or you cannot, but I'm going to always view him as a Hall of Famer.
I've said it a million times. The Baseball Hall of Fame is not a place where you put saints.
No.
And
there are people that have done far worse things than Pete Rose that are marveled at and viewed as icons.
No
by
doubt.
some.
No doubt. And there's a long list of them. And so we'll see what happens in the distant future, whether attitudes change towards Pete Rose. But if you watched him play in person, that it's just, I know we talk about in college football, we talk about, you see someone, you go, man, they just have it.
Yeah.
And when you saw Pete Rose play, he had it, and he was fun to watch. So, but he passed away yesterday at the age of 83. And you remember his son, Pete Rose Jr., played for the Birmingham Barons.
Sure did. Yep.
Played here in Birmingham. So,
well, it was just a sad sports day. Dikembe Mutombo passing away at 58 because of brain cancer, and that was sad. And certainly remember how dominant he was, especially as a shot blocker and the things that he did, and him as a personality as well, even after his playing career. But sad day to see two of those greats pass away and leave this earth.
1-800-239-WJOX. The Courtesy GMC text line, Landrum, is open at 205-834-9450. And I know a lot of people have a lot to talk about this morning, including Mike Griffith.
This is true. First, we start off with Gavin. They're in Athens, Alabama. He says, we did it, Landrum. What you say we go take 2 in San Diego? Go Braves. That would be great. Playing with house money. Have nothing to lose. Still no announcement because Chris Sale was scratched because of back spasms, who the starter's going to be. I've seen 3 names that have been thrown out there, Pat. Bryce Elder, A.J. Smith-Shawver. We saw him. He was great at Wrigley Field earlier in the season, and that's kind of what prompted the injury for him. And Ian Anderson. You remember old Ian Anderson?
It's been a minute.
Right-hander, used to throw it really, really hard. He's not pitched in the major leagues since 2022, but his postseason ERA is great. And at AAA, I think his final month of the season, he was really good with like a 2.12 earned run average. I don't know where they go at this point, but as a Braves fan, I just view it as an accomplishment to make the postseason.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of teams like my team sitting at home. Everybody else on the show, their teams are playing, but mine is talking about hitting a hard reset. Yeah, so tonight King is on the bump for San Diego. As Landrum mentioned, no word yet on what Atlanta's going to do. Do you know Atlanta landed in San Diego at 1:30 a.m. Eastern time? They did not leave Atlanta until late, like 9 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
So they landed around 1:30 Atlanta time in San Diego. First pitch tonight is 7:38. You can hear the game on Jox 2 100.5. Tomorrow night, 7:38 first pitch. Musgrove is on the bump for San Diego. Game 3, if necessary, is Thursday. So think about that. Atlanta, if they can get to Thursday, they'd have played a doubleheader on Monday, flew all the way across the country to play San Diego 3 straight days, and then you would get Friday off, and then the winner of San Diego Atlanta plays the Dodgers on Saturday night.
Fun times.
Hey,
but it's like Matt Olson
at the
said.
dance.
He said prior to the doubleheader, he said nobody cares, you know, about all the injuries and all the setbacks and everything else. And then what he said yesterday, he said, yeah, we realized that we had to play 18 innings today. We're tired. We're gonna load a flight. But guess what? It's the postseason, and I'm sure there's enough adrenaline to go around. We're gonna go and we're gonna play baseball. Like the mindset.
now Molly's Detroit Tigers, they're going to get everything kicked off today. First pitch is 1:30. That game can be seen on ABC television as Scooble, 18-4, taking on Valdez, 15-7 for the Houston Astros.
Astros got it turned around this year. There were some thoughts early
So
in the
did the
season.
Tigers.
Yeah, I know.
Take it easy.
Wow.
Well, who would have thought?
This one right here.
All year I've been kind of just, happy to be here until.
So now you're going to get arrogant.
No,
now you're
I'm not
going to get cocky.
arrogant.
Yep.
Yeah, she
He's
thinks
just-
she's going to take down the Astros now.
I would love to take down the Astros.
I would
And
also
then the
love to see
Yankees
that.
next.
Oh,
That's
I don't know
not
about
happening.
All right, so you got Milwaukee and the New York Mets in the National League. That's the other National League game. That's at 4:30 this afternoon. And then you got Baltimore and Kansas City, the other American League game. So
Going back to the Padres, best record second half in baseball, 42-20.
got a good manager. Never should have fired him.
They got some really good players too. Finally, that payroll is starting to help out a little bit.
Living up to the expectations.
That's right. Robert texted in. This is going back to Mike Griffith, and he said, I disagree with Mike that Alabama's defense was something lacking to be desired, forcing 4 turnovers and getting 3 sacks versus Carson Beck. I think Mike was just talking about the second half comeback, right?
I suppose that's what he was referring to.
I hope that's what he was talking about. This one rolling in. Marcus from Gulf Breeze, Florida. Says Mike Griffith sure was humble this morning after the game Saturday. Last couple of weeks he was confident. Roll Tide. Off the wall text. Do y'all drain the water or leave it in the can when eating Vienna sausage? It's been a minute. I think the last time I had Vienna sausage, it was on this very show when we were doing it from a supermarket,
challenge.
and you guys asked me if I'd do it.
And you did it.
I did. I would say I do not drink the juice anymore. I did that as a kid, which is really gross now, looking back on it.
Have you never had Vienna sausage?
I don't think so.
You're not, it's probably not for you. Probably not for you. Not as bad as the fish that I have that'll be here October the 18th.
Are we still on target for the 18th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know. Ask the Tennessee Volunteers.
Well, it'll be here the 18th. They play the game the 19th. And then we will come to your house on Sunday morning if Alabama loses and open this can. Pharaoh might like the smell of it.
He would probably love it.
Yeah, dogs love those nasty smells. Ryan Williams reminds me of David Palmer. That text rolling in. Steven says, I'm not a Bama fan, but Ryan Williams' kid is a monster. If y'all choose any wide receiver, past or present, who does he remind y'all of? I mean, I threw out David Palmer, who was kind of an everything.
Yeah, Palmer was a little bit shorter in stature.
He was.
He's not as tall as Ryan Williams. Julio was just physical
Julio
freak.
he was stupid good. Coach, guys and gals, what's your opinion? Who's in the SEC championship? And Coach says, best show of the day, hands down, RDT. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Right now, I would put Alabama and
Texas?
Based on what I've seen, Texas.
Yeah.
But you got some nice head-to-heads that will decide who's actually playing in Atlanta.
Yep.
Trey from Huntsville sends in some comparisons, and we'll get to some of these texts. This is pretty in-depth, but I think it's a really good comparison and just kind of comparing through 4 games Ryan Williams and then some others like Devontae Smith and just some of those elite wide receivers that Nick Saban had at his disposal and what kind of production Ryan Williams is putting up, and that'll be a good side-by-side. We continue here live from Social Taco in Homewood. It's National Taco Day. The doors open 12 minutes from right now. The mayor is already here, Don. He has got his roll. He's got his pen. He is wearing a Florida shirt for some reason. Not really sure what's going on there. But, okay.
Oh, you know why? It's because they're playing Gus Malzahn.
Oh, that's right. Okay. We will, I'm sure, hear Don at some point during this broadcast over our headsets, and he's always having a festive time. He is bellied up to the table, ready to go. It's 3-man front live from Social Taco in Homewood on National Taco Day. Come and join us, 3-man front and Jocks 94.5.
It is 10:52, Jocks 94.5. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll go down to Auburn, Alabama, and talk to Jeffrey Lee from On3 Sports. We'll get his thoughts on what took place over the weekend, the first 5 games down at Jordan-Hare Stadium as the Tigers get ready for the Bulldogs.
Well, as we move further away from the hot weather, you know your HVAC system worked overtime this summer, so make sure you're prepared for the months and years ahead with a Trane comfort system. Right now, Trane's Unstoppable event offers you peace of mind with a 10-year warranty on parts and labor with select Trane home comfort system. So learn more at Trane.com.
So Major League Baseball just announced a few moments ago that there were more stolen bases this year in the league in 109 years. More stolen bases in 109 years. There were 3,617 stolen bases in Major League Baseball this year.
You think that has to do with the new rule implemented?
No doubt. The average time of a 9-inning game was 2 hours and 36 minutes.
We've done something.
The sport's crispest in 40 years. Back in 1984, a Major League Baseball game was 2 hours and 35 minutes. This year it was 2 hours and 36 minutes. So 40 years, we've gotten to the point now where we're knocking that time off. So the rules have absolutely worked.
And it hasn't affected that game, the game, drastically.
But
Took some getting used to.
But I do think having the limited the number of times that she can throw over to first base, that has given carte blanche. I mean, I know you got Dela Cruz from Cincinnati. I mean, seriously, like the moment he got on first base, I mean, you just might as well go ahead and just save time and let him go to third. I mean, because
that and limiting the amount of pitching changes. You know, you have to face 3 batters if you go in, so you don't. And I understand that takes some of the strategy out of the game, but it definitely speeds it up.
But 3,617 stolen bases. That's just, wow. Third most.
Would have been more than
Major
that
League
if
history.
Acuna had stayed healthy.
What do you think? You got 60?
70,
70?
80,
Well,
85.
Well, if Ohtani had not had all of his issues at the beginning of the year with all the stress about him going to go to jail for the gambling, he probably would have had like 150.
Yeah, bless his heart. With all that stress, think about he'd just gone out and played free and loose. What kind of numbers he
What are you
going to
do when you guys knock off the Padres and then you play the Dodgers in the next series, and then Ohtani's actually been throwing on the side, and then he comes in and he faces y'all?
That'd be such a Braves thing. To be honest, it would be such a Braves thing to happen. Just on a whim, they want to throw Ohtani. Yeah, they said Freddie Freeman's going to be back, though, after a little injury. Nothing significant, so that'll be fun. All right, we got to get by the Padres. They're playing really good baseball.
What's the
and King going tonight for them. Man, he's been really good. What's his name, Michael King?
Yeah, you're welcome. He was part of that Juan Soto trade.
Yeah, well, it worked out for you guys.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm very happy with that trade.
But, yes, thank you, Yankees. Once again.
Padres are a -1.5 run favorite tonight.
No big surprise.
Braves plus 154 on the money line. Get you a little value there. Sprinkle a little bit on that one.
I might. You going to play it tonight? You going to take the Padres? You probably ought to take the Padres. Just based on we don't know who's pitching. And just to be fair.
According to Vegas, because they can't post a Major League Baseball game on the board unless they have the starting pitcher. And they've got Fried.
Maximus?
Yep. It's right here.
Maybe he can show out for maybe the new team he's going to be playing
Says
for next
Atlanta
year.
Braves, Max Fried taking on M. King for the Padres.
Dig deep, Max. Dig deep. We need this one. Choptober. By the way, did you hear SMU when they played Florida State this past weekend? Doing this,
I
this
did,
sad war chant.
I'll find it for Pat.
Oh, it's great. I hope FSU Dave shows up. Hope all of you show up. The doors are opening. Social Taco here on this National Taco Tuesday. We're in the Terrace. Come and join us.
Welcome back in. It's hour number 2 of Three-Man Front. Pat Smith, Molly Robinson, Landrum Roberts. We're live at Social Taco. It's National Taco Day. Come by and see us. The doors are now open. We're located on the Taco Terrace upstairs here in Homewood in the Soho section of Homewood. Come by and see us. We'll be here until 2 o'clock. Wonderful time to be able to mix and mingle with the wonderful people here, listening to Jocks 94.5 and being able to sign autographs with Molly and Landrum. It's a fun time. Last night, Monday Night Football, you had the Detroit Tigers. Now they play today. That's the Lions. That's what I get for the Lions, the Tigers. Just like in Chicago, they have the Bears and the Cubs. Yes, the Lions win last night, 42-29 over Seattle. The Tennessee Titans, they win. That's right. I almost said loss. Sorry, Damien. Titans win 31-12 over the Dolphins last night in South Florida. Major League Baseball, you got the Braves and the Padres. First pitch tonight, 7:38. You can hear that game on our sister station, Jocks 2 100.5. Max Fried is scheduled now to pitch for the Braves. He will go up against King for San Diego. King this year was 13-9, so that will be a good one. You can catch all those games over on Jocks 2 100.5.
I'm a little bit out of breath. I'm just catching up. Is Jeffrey with us now?
He is.
Jeffrey Lee on 3. Good old friend joining us, as all of our guests do, on the Buyers Right Insurance Hotline. Jeffrey, happy National Taco Day to you.
Oh, I didn't realize it was Taco Day.
It is Taco Day. We broadcast from Social Taco here in Homewood every Tuesday, but it's very fitting that today is National Taco Day. The first 5 games for Hugh Freeze, I do want to start there. Impressive performance versus Alabama A&M, taking care of business against New Mexico. But how would you sum up maybe the temperature there in Auburn with Auburn fans after the 3 losses that I think many believe that Auburn could have and should have won in those games?
Yeah, very disappointed, very frustrated with not losing the games, but how they lost the games, the turnovers, not getting beat, but actually losing and beating themselves. I think that's the most frustrating and disappointing part of the 3 losses to this point, especially the Oklahoma game. I think that one was just really, really twisted that dagger that was already in the hearts of many Auburn fans.
In regards to the quarterback play, that's been well documented. It's very disappointing the way that Peyton Thorne and, of course, Hank Brown in his short time. But Jarquez Hunter, that's the number one question, Jeffrey, when we get on this radio show every week is like, okay, he got him up to 20 carries a couple weeks ago, but then prime opportunities and chances, especially against Oklahoma, and you just did not see them give him the ball. Do you think moving forward that's going to change in regard to how much work we're going to see Jarquez Hunter get?
Absolutely. I think the biggest flaw of the game plan last week against Oklahoma was early in that fourth quarter when Auburn got the ball back there. I think around 10 or 11 minutes left in the game, and I actually looked over to my friend and I said, "Hey, Peyton Thorne, great job. You don't have to throw another pass. Give the ball to Jarquez Hunter 3 times, run the clock down, punt it, make that true freshman quarterback drive against your defense and beat you." And obviously that didn't happen, and it was perplexing to me. And I think it was last night or yesterday during Hugh Freeze's press conference where he basically said that was a bad call. I should have done exactly, what a lot of people saw, which was feed Jarquez, make Oklahoma beat us. And that didn't happen. So, the turnover there, the pick 6 really just changed the game. And it was one of the probably the worst loss for Auburn fans this year.
Jeffrey Lee, he's the senior recruiting editor there for Auburn on 3 at J Lee AU Live on X, and he joins us as all of our guests do on the Buyers Right Insurance Hotline. Jeffrey, you talk to these recruits all the time. You're in contact with them. You know them. It's hard to get inside of the head of a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, but the way that this season has started, has it had an adverse effect on some of the current commitments and some of the high-profile guys that Auburn is still trying to land?
So far, so good. Obviously, you cannot continue to do this, and I don't know how many more games Auburn will be favored on the schedule, maybe 2. So you're going to have some upsets to avoid having a 3-9, 4-8 type season, but you're definitely staring that those two records in the face right now. I think what gives these recruits a little optimism is the hope for the future. They didn't commit to a 10-2 team. They didn't commit to a championship caliber roster. They committed to the hope of a positive, successful future under Hugh Freeze at Auburn. And I don't know that we've gotten to the point yet with these recruits that they don't see that. They see Auburn so close. They see Auburn making mistakes that they think that they wouldn't make. I think, talking to Anquan Fagans, the four-star DB from Thompson up y'all's way, he is completely locked in. Alvin Henderson, the four-star running back from Elba, completely locked in. They see what they have, what they committed to, which was hope and future at Auburn under Hugh Freeze and being able to compete for national championships. I still think Auburn is a class away. And I think that's probably the consensus feeling around here when you talk behind the scenes with coaches and staff members is you see all the impact that the 2024 guys are having, these true freshmen, even going back to the 2023 class with Keldrick Fault and Connor Lew. I mean, you look at Auburn's impact players the past few weeks, and they're all freshmen or sophomores. So you get you sell that to these recruits, and so far so good. I haven't seen or haven't heard of anyone rethinking their commitment. And I really haven't seen anything that would lead me to believe Auburn's not getting new commitments because of this season. If they're missing out on guys that probably would have missed out on them anyways. So far, so good.
Jeffrey, you're as connected as anyone down there, and I wanted to ask you about the transfer portal back in the spring and early part of the summer. Was there any conversations or kicking the tires on a Riley Leonard, or was there serious conversations about Cam Ward with his representation, or do you think that Hugh Freeze, after spring ball, he just was determined and he felt that obviously Peyton Thorne was his guy and he had the best understanding, and moving forward they could, I don't mean to sound like they're being cheap, but they could save money because he felt the quarterback room was in good hands?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. They definitely kicked the tires on Cam Ward, had conversations with Riley Leonard. They considered both of those guys along with a couple of others, but those were the two main guys that we really heard a lot more of than the others. But when it came down to it, Hugh Freeze made that decision. I don't want to pay whatever it was, $1.5–2 million for a quarterback out of a transfer portal, and obviously they're not cheap. I would rather hitch my wagon to Peyton Thorne and the talent that I'm going to surround him with, and go with that. And I think you're going to look back at the 2024 season and go, that was the biggest mistake it was made back in the spring when he didn't go after that transfer quarterback. So I think you will see a big investment in the offseason and not letting that happen again.
Yeah, and that was going to be my follow-up with, and we know that Walker White, and we've heard great things about him there in that quarterback room, and he hasn't been thrown into the fray because he's still learning and trying to conceptualize everything that you need to know in that Hugh Freeze offense. But a guy like Deuce Knight, who I know Auburn is heavily pursuing, there's a lot of flirtation there. Can you update us on maybe Deuce Knight, what the tea leaves are telling you, Jeffrey, and are they selling Deuce Knight on the ability to come in and be able to start year one at Auburn?
Yeah, they're selling, but in reality, they realize that you don't want to throw a true freshman in there in year three when Hugh Freeze is going to be expected to win. The honeymoon will be over next year somewhat. It'll be the last little bit of any type of honeymoon. There will be expectations next year, and if they're not met, there will be some people. I don't want to say his job is in jeopardy, but he's going to have to win next year. I mean, he's going to have to put together a competitive ball club that you're going to look at and go, okay, we're almost there. We'll be there next year. We're going to be competing from here on out. And you're not going to be able to do that with a true freshman typically. Now, there's certainly some anomalies in the history of college football, especially in the last 20 years when it comes to true freshman quarterbacks. But you don't want to have to put your season on the shoulders of a true freshman and expect to come out with the results that you want. I think what the ideal situation would be is finding someone, a transitional guy, a one-year guy who can bridge you from Peyton Thorne to Deuce Knight to Walker White to those younger guys. You don't want to throw them in next year. I think you would like to be able to get a guy in the transfer portal who can lead your team in 2025, and then have one of those two guys, if not both of those two guys, ready to go in 2026.
Talking to Jeffrey Lee on 3. Auburn Live joins us here on 3-Man Front. We're live at Social Taco until 2 o'clock. I wanted to ask you about the game coming up this weekend because Hugh Freeze's game plan last year was outstanding, losing 27-20. Georgia's won 7 in a row in this series, 10 of the last 11 between these two teams. Your expectation coming into this game and getting a game outside of Jordan-Hare, I personally believe that might be a good thing for this football team to kind of get away from the friendly confines.
Completely agree with you. It certainly hasn't been beneficial for Auburn to be at home, which is a stark difference from what we've seen in the past. Auburn's usually got a home advantage, a home field advantage, unlike any other, or certainly in that top tier in college football. However, that hasn't been the case. I think maybe getting a change of venue this weekend at Georgia. Unfortunately, you're going up against a Georgia team that's coming off of that heartbreaking loss to Alabama. It's homecoming in Athens, so you're not gonna catch anybody slipping. I think you look back to last year and what the game plan they had for going in with against Georgia and of course against Alabama as well. Can Auburn pull that off a second time? Can they do it on the road in Athens? That I don't know about that. I don't know if this team is better than the last year's team. I don't know if they can pull that off. But I think there's hope that there can be at least a competitive game. I certainly don't expect it. I really don't. I haven't seen anything to this point that would lead me to believe Auburn can go into Athens and be competitive with Georgia, especially coming off of the Alabama loss. So my expectations are very low heading into this weekend.
And based on that, and that's certainly understandable, but then you look after the bye week, you get Missouri on the road. I feel like, and Pat and I have discussed it, Missouri, that's gettable if Auburn plays really well. Kentucky, they're gettable, not easy, not ideal, but they're in Lexington. Vanderbilt at home, gettable. La Monroe used to take care of business there. And Texas A&M, getting them back at Jordan-Hare late in the season, that is a gettable game. Do you feel like maybe that's what Hugh Freeze and that staff are kind of rallying around, or maybe that's the expectation among the Auburn brass when they look at the rest of this season, and if you can maybe put together some of those wins? What's your feeling, Jeffrey, just kind of knowing the tone and the tenor of this team and what you've seen so far?
I think there's optimism, and I don't think that it's cautious optimism. I think Auburn looks at what they've done the past few weeks, and what they've seen is improvement. I think we all would say that Oklahoma is probably the best all-around game Auburn has played all season against a Power 4 opponent. So are you regressing throughout the season? Are you getting better? And I think you look at the Oklahoma game, the run game. Peyton Thorne was fantastic until the fourth quarter. You take away that pick six, he was fantastic. It was a great game. So I think there is some hope that with improvement, you won't be able to maybe go into to Kentucky, maybe go into Missouri, maybe catch A&M at home, and be able to win more than you were actually supposed to. I still think it's going to be tough. They're going to have to be consistent. They're going to have to figure out what their identity is on offense, stick to it, be successful with it, and maybe they can get to 6 or 7 wins.
Jeffrey, before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts on the rest of the conference. Just taking a look at the totality of the league, do you think that this is a stronger league this year overall now that Oklahoma and Texas is in there, or do you think that this league is about the same it was last year at this time?
From top to bottom, it looks if you would have asked me this question 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have said, man, the SEC's down. Georgia, skimmed by Kentucky after being embarrassed against South Carolina, and here's Vanderbilt with an upset win early in the season, and so. But I think it's strong. You look at what Kentucky has done, going down to Ole Miss and beating Ole Miss. Missouri's continued to win. A&M, and so it's. I don't know that it's any better or any worse. It kind of feels like it's strong. Texas is obviously a Tier 1 school. I think they're going to be in it until the end. Oklahoma, we've seen what they've been able to do on the road with a true freshman coming to Auburn to beat Auburn. So it's still as good as it has been.
How good is Auburn going to be in basketball this year?
I would expect at least a second-round tourney.
Okay. Well, I thought I would leave you with something positive there, Jeffrey, because there are some fans that are still thinking or starting to think about basketball season and what Bruce Pearl has coming back. Before we let you go, Don, who's one of your faithful viewers, wanted me to pass along salutations and let you know that he is here and he really appreciates you.
Oh, Don, he's on every radio show. I know it, Don.
He makes the rounds for sure. He is the mayor of our Tuesdays here at Social Taco. Jeffrey, we always appreciate the time. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you soon.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Jeffrey Lee, outstanding job. He's the senior recruiting editor there at Auburn Live on 3 at JLeeAU Live on the X. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
Well, if you're headed to any of the games this weekend, you got to check out the Pants Store. They are your one-stop shop for all things game day. They have a large variety of game day tops, shorts, skirts, rompers, dresses, and so much more. They have a game day outfit for every single team, whether you prefer neutrals or wearing the team colors. And don't forget, if you're going into the stadium to get yourself a clear bag, it makes it so much easier. So shop online at pantstore.com or in store at one of their 6 locations in Alabama.
When we come back on Three-Man Front, what one game will do for an individual's NIL valuation. Molly's going to tell us how much it meant to Ryan Williams, what his new valuation is NIL-wise. That's next on Three-Man Front.
11:20 live from Social Taco in Homewood. Pelham Gator, Don the mayor, Burr is here. Come and join us as we're here in the Terrace on this National Taco Day. $3 mix and match combination tacos. Socialtaco.bar for more information. Ever thought about what you'd do if a cyber attack, a database loss, or connectivity issue hit your business? Oh, gosh. Well, you're going to need responsive, proactive, fast, reliable IT solutions to help your business grow and stay safe from those cyber attacks. There's good news. There's a great Alabama-based company in Evolve IT that can handle all of your IT, protect your business systems with the most advanced cybersecurity tactics. Book an IT inspection for your business, a $3,000 value for free. Learn more at evolv.us. That's Evolve IT.
We were just talking about it during the last commercial break, and then Jeffrey came on. But, Molly, there's some interesting numbers that's coming out because On3, they like to do these valuations of NIL of what these players are worth. And it appears that Ryan Williams has skyrocketed since that game against Georgia.
Oh, yeah. So he obviously got national attention over the weekend. And if you're not on social media or if you didn't know, the term Ryan Williams is 17 was trending nationwide. So that obviously got a lot of
it's really
attention.
weird because, when Landrum was 17, that trended.
What?
Really?
Landrum Roberts is 17.
Yeah.
All the things that Landrum was doing when he was 17.
Oh, man. Yes.
I don't
Just
even
think
wanna
if you
know.
and I had social media when we were.
Number one, we would not be able to get a job later in life. Let's start there. Thank you, God.
But see, at least now, like Conrad and Molly, they're trained. They understand that there's there's cameras everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can't get away with the stuff that you and I used to get away
Yeah.
with. And now there's social media, so everyone's got a camera. So if you do something stupid, everyone in the world's going to know about it.
I'll be honest. You strike me as somebody who got away with a lot of stuff. I got away with some stuff, but I got caught for a lot of stuff.
I was very fortunate. I only got caught, really one time doing something that
Well,
caused a sheriff to show up at my house.
And part of me is I know if I get caught, I'm dead. But the temptation and the fun that's out there to go ahead and do it, I just don't care.
Sorry, didn't mean to.
No,
Sorry, Molly.
I'm
No.
really enjoying this.
We're just
actually
talking about Landrum's delinquency.
Well, the moment that made Ryan Williams viral was his spin and his run against the two Georgia defenders, and he said it himself. He felt like he was in slow motion. So after that, received national attention. So before his NIL, I guess, brand or whatever, he had about $768,000 for his valuation.
According to On3.
He has now jumped to $1.5 million since Saturday's game.
Now, I'm curious what maybe Milrose was. So I think Milrose was pretty high anyway, right? Before the game?
So. Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, he's already in the top 5 for college football.
So
Those were $2 million quarterbacks squaring off
no doubt.
last Saturday.
On Instagram alone, he received over 160,000 Instagram followers and now has over 640,000 social media followers across all social media.
Well, that's what happens when you change your profile picture to Michael Vick holding a puppy after you just destroyed the Georgia Bulldogs.
That is tough.
That was absolutely savage, and I love it.
Well, I mean, he's his eye black stickers. He wrote "kill everybody" underneath his eyes.
Is it out of the realm that we're talking about Ryan Williams potentially getting invited to New York?
If he stays healthy, I think he does get an invite.
And this goes back to, and I promised that I would come back to it, Trey from Huntsville. He threw this out to us on the text line, 205-834-9450. Appreciate our listeners there in North Alabama, also listening on Sports Radio 740 in the capital city of Montgomery. He said Ryan Williams, through his first 4 games this season, 16 receptions, 462 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, the year he won the Heisman, through his first 4 games, 38 receptions, 486 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. So when you just start comparing those, now, while there were more receptions, it's taking less receptions and equal 2 yards for Ryan Williams, more touchdowns through this point than Devontae had. And the advantage for Ryan Williams is you don't have to share with a whole lot of other guys in that offense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's Ryan Williams, and I realize that Alabama has other talented wide receivers, but again, when you know Ryan Williams is getting the ball, you game plan for him all week. Kirby said you can't dedicate an extra guy because who's going to handle Jalen Milroe? That is a problem for everybody on Alabama's schedule.
There's no doubt. I mean, and you just look back at the question that we had to the audience yesterday about Julio Jones and Amari Cooper when they were freshmen.
Yeah.
I think Amari had 1,000 yards total for the year as a freshman. I think 14 touchdowns. But Julio, I think, had 900 yards and only 4 touchdowns as a freshman.
Well, if you're an Alabama fan or you're not an Alabama fan, if you can't appreciate what Ryan Williams is doing and how much fun he is to watch, I'm sure he wasn't a whole lot of fun to watch if you're a Georgia fan, but Georgia fans certainly were sitting there and tipping their cap going, that's just an outstanding electric football player. At this point, there is no reason why he should not eclipse, at this rate right now, 1,200 yards this season.
Yeah, and I don't see the offense dialing it back. I think, if anything, Conrad, I see this offense kind of getting ramped up because I also think that they understand that when you go to Tennessee, you're going to – I mean, this may be like it was a couple years ago when
52-49.
when Bryce Young was quarterbacking. I mean, that's – I don't see them dialing back at all offensively.
And I think that's part of what you have to remind yourself, especially about Ryan Williams, is this guy's played in 4 college football games ever. He should be in high school right now. Like, we should be covering him on Friday nights. And to think that he can't continue to get better, I think would be foolish. Now, how much better, maybe that's the better question to ask. But, no, I certainly think right now, I mean, what you've seen from Jalen Milroe, and we really haven't even had a game where the running backs kind of took over. Like, maybe Saturday was the best this offense ever looks this year, but I think it's also fair to say that, they could still improve significantly between now and the postseason.
Can we make a vow to each other on the show? And this is not at UConn. This is more of the national thing. At some point in this season, can we stop talking about the fact that Ryan Williams should be going to prom coming up in the spring? Or
I'm already
playing against high school.
Every time he catches a pass, and he's only 17 years old. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, that's great, but there's a reason why he reclassified. there's a reason. LeBron James, when he was a senior in high school, or when he went, he's a generational talent. We get that. It's great. No matter the age, he is awesome. It is impressive that he's been able to come in and pick it up so quickly, though.
So Hayes Fawcett, who he works for On3, he does all the graphics and stuff for the recruits when they come out. And so he gets to know a lot of these 5-star players as they're coming into college. So he posted this a few minutes ago after the NIL valuation came out for Ryan Williams. He tweeted out that he spoke with Ryan Williams before the season started about how he could have shattered all of the high school records here in the state of Alabama. And so according to Hayes Fawcett, Ryan Williams' response to that was, "When you see what I'm about to do this year, you will understand why I reclassified."
Wow.
I think he has lived up to that statement so far.
No doubt. 1-800-239-WJOX. The Courtesy GMC text line is open, 205-834-9450. You see the warning signs, windows or doors that stick, cracks in the brick or block of your home, leaning or bowing walls in your basement, settling or sinking. How much time before those minor repairs become serious structural damage? You can't afford to wait. Call APS today for a free estimate. 205-951-9717. Wet basements can also lead to issues with your home, from mold and mildew to rot and air quality problems. APS waterproofers, they can come to your house and assess your issue and give you a plan that they can help fix that starting today. Foundation problems don't get better with time. They get better when you call APS. 205-951-9717. Or visit their website at alabamaprofessional.com.
We continue here on National Taco Day. We got more folks showing up. Come and join us here at Social Taco in the Square in Homewood. $3 mix and match tacos all day long. SocialTaco.bar for more information. You want to check out the menu. We'll roll on. A lot more of your texts rolling in. We'll get to those as well. It's three-man front on a Taco Tuesday. More folks just showed up. I'm Josh 94.5.
It is 11:33. Jocks 94.5. The crowd is swelling on National Taco Day. $3 tacos here at Social Taco in Homewood. Come by and see us. The Taco Terrace is getting filled up, so kind of limited seating. So you need to get up here and get up quick. FSU Dave, if you're listening, man, might be tough for you to get in tonight.
Well, there's so many things to talk about with FSU Dave. I think this is the time as a group, as a show family. This is when we just console FSU Dave. 1-4. You got the sad Tomahawk war chant that was played by the SMU band, and that thing wasn't even close. And now you saw where DJU, he's going to be out. He's got a boo-boo.
A couple of things I wanted to pass along, not that this is going to have anything to do with what's going on in the SEC, but the Mountain West this morning officially admitted UTEP to the conference. That will start in 2026. Also, it is believed that Gonzaga is going to announce sometime today that they are joining the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 is still looking for football members, but now they may be pivoting to the basketball front. Now, I bring up Gonzaga because we're all gym rats when it comes wintertime and talking about March Madness and the kind of season we're anticipating for Auburn and Alabama and UAB. It's going to be magical when we get to March and April, hopefully. But I'm telling you, if Gonzaga does make that move, which is anticipated, I would not be surprised if St. Mary's leaves the West Coast Conference and they make the jump, because if you look at what that rivalry has been between St. Mary's and Gonzaga in that conference, and I think that if the Pac-12 is looking now to maybe go the basketball route on some of these schools, I know some people, if you don't follow basketball, you go, St. Mary's, what are you talking about? I'm telling you, you grab St. Mary's and have Gonzaga, and that all of a sudden that becomes a legitimate, maybe a two-bid league, like right off the top.
Yeah, and with UTEP going to the Mountain West, I don't really know how much that does for you. It seems like more of a natural fit than Conference USA for UTEP?
Just think of the money that they're going to say. I know they're going to have to pay a little bit of money. I think the number's around $4 million to get out, because they signed their grant of rights with Conference USA, so they're going to have to write a check for $4 million. But if you think about it, think about them having to go from El Paso, Texas, to Jacksonville, Alabama, on a travel.
Yeah,
to play a conference, whatever. So now you stay out west. Granted, you're still going to have costs.
Or from there to Lynchburg, Virginia.
Exactly. So a little bit different. So they may be saving, that kind of money just by going back to the west, because at one time they were, part of the Mountain West.
Well, from daily exercisers and youth athletes to elite professionals, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine treats everyone with the same level of exceptional care. Board-certified professionals, state-of-the-art imaging and injury prevention programs. Their comprehensive team is here to keep you in the game. Visit uabmedicine.org/sports or call 205-930-8339 to make an appointment. UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, knowledge moving medicine forward.
Well, we have our Walter Camp National Players of the Week.
I can't wait to hear this. Just
Alabama
wait.
Quarterback Jalen Milroe and Boston College defensive end Donovan Ezeraku.
I was trying to slip her up.
Yeah.
I was trying to, but she did
Not
well.
That was
happen.
seamless on Ezeraku.
Thank you.
Wow, even you.
Now you say it.
No, that's why I make y'all say it.
Ezeraku.
Nope.
It's like you, Manly Ellen.
Why not be saying his name a lot more? moving
Iam
forward?
Aliaba.
Iam Aliava.
Yeah.
Oi Anglele.
All right.
Yeah, no.
No? You don't want to try that
I
one?
can't do that one.
That's weird. You can't do that one, but you can do
you
all these other
Youngula?
ones.
But you're a guy, how many times did you say Igbignogany
That's true.
during their careers at Hewitt-Trussville?
A bunch.
And see, the fact that you can nail that and you can't name Ezeraku.
And Noah's brother Michael committed to Tulane last week.
Summerall's got that thing rolling.
Yes.
You saw what Tulane did this past weekend to South Florida.
I did.
Unfortunately, they're coming to Protective this
I
weekend.
appreciate you listening to my scoreboard updates during the UAB game.
You know what? I'm a little bit busy. I'm getting IVs at halftime.
You're cramping up on the sideline.
That's exactly right. No, I'm actually climbing 8 flights of steps to get up to try to get something to drink, because they shut the elevators down. And no matter if you're ever at a game, here's just a piece of advice. In the sign outside the elevator, and it says, elevators will be non-operational, and then they give like 15 minutes, or the times are never right. They shut those things down right after kickoff.
Conrad, don't you remember when you and Molly got trapped out of the press box?
Yes.
That protective? That happened to us.
Oh, yeah, and y'all were making me go up and down all the flights of stairs. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, that was mainly Pat.
I didn't see Molly volunteering.
No, because you made Conrad do it.
I don't ever do cardio morning of if we're protective, because I know that I'm going to have.
You're going to get your
I'm
steps?
going to get my steps in. Yeah.
You're going to be, yeah. Yep.
Little burn in the calves. It's okay.
Yeah, that was the big story during my little cut-ins, was the fact that South Florida was not playing very well in New Orleans.
They were getting the horns.
Yeah, they were. They got ugly fast. And it didn't get any better.
Summerall's he's going to get that thing humming.
Yep.
That guy is a heck of a football coach. Ask Troy fans. They know.
Oh, yeah. The in-person meeting between the SEC and the Big Ten is set for next Thursday, October the 10th in Nashville. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti are scheduled to attend, in which all the ADs will also be in attendance. The college football playoff could expand again in 2026. The general feeling is it could move from 12 to 14 teams. Now, the SEC still has not decided whether they want to increase the conference schedule from 8 to 9 games starting in 2026. We've talked about this incessantly on the show. ESPN is not paying them any more money for another conference game. They have been headstrong about that. They were not going to give the SEC more money. They have a contract. It's not going to happen. So we'll see if that plays into this conversation. The reason I bring that up is because sources say that the athletic directors, they would like to discuss the possibility of creating something similar to the conference basketball challenges, except do it with football. And here's the kicker. You do it and you sell that package as a separate television entity. Because since the Big Ten has the contract with Fox, SEC with ESPN, you could individually sell that out. So another opportunity to draw in more revenue.
To Peacock.
So possibly, whatever the case may be.
I know that's what everyone wants to hear.
Right. Now, the other issue with that, is what happens to these SEC teams that have these deals with ACC schools, these rivalry games. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So South Carolina plays Clemson. Florida State plays Florida. And then, obviously, what's the other one I'm missing? Oh, Georgia.
Georgia Tech.
And Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So all the ACC schools, I mean, if they have to now do a game with a Big Ten opponent, those games might potentially go away. So there might be a Florida State, Florida moving forward. Look at FSU Dave looking at me like he's throwing daggers at me.
See, Florida State, Florida, Clemson, South Carolina, I see that fans rioting over not being able to play. I don't think Georgia and Georgia Tech really cares that much. Do you? I mean, based on what we heard from the Georgia side, maybe Georgia Tech fans do.
Yeah, maybe so. But I just find that interesting, having a football-like challenge between the Big Ten and the SEC, and then you sell that package to someone totally different to even give them more money.
And how do they decide this? And I'm trying to remember, how
Don't
do they
you
do
think
it in
that-
basketball and they
But
decide
don't you
it?
think in football it would be like, okay, Northwestern, you and Vandy, go play.
I would hope so, that you try to mirror.
Who would you want Nebraska to play?
Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's an old Big 8 rivalry.
Yeah, bring that one back.
That's an easy one
So
for me.
that's a good one.
Okay, what about Michigan? Who are we going to put up?
Maybe like a Mizzou or LSU. Because I wouldn't want to put them with like Ole Miss or
Now,
Tennessee.
see, I would put Mizzou like with Iowa.
Really?
Yeah, I mean that's a good.
Okay. I don't know who I'd put Iowa with. Honestly.
Who would you want Alabama to play, Conrad?
Out of the Big Ten, I mean Ohio State.
Yeah.
All right, who are we going to put up with Oregon?
Texas.
Yeah.
All right, so go Texas, OU.
No. Make Lanning go up against Kirby.
Ooh, that's
Ooh,
good.
that's a good
I
one.
like that storyline, year one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
better than Georgia, Michigan. I like that.
Let's roll with that.
Georgia, Oregon,
What about Alabama?
Said
Ohio
Ohio
State,
State.
Ohio State? Okay. What about Auburn? We're going to throw Auburn.
Penn State.
they already did that.
But I know that was good games.
It was.
It was.
Selfishly for the Auburn fans, though, Washington. Maybe you get to go and
UCLA. Who gets USC out of the SEC? Tennessee.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be a good. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
It's
Or
not
if you
like
really,
that one.
or if
LSU
you really
doesn't
want to be
want that
mean and do Oklahoma and USC.
Yeah.
that
a
would
good
be
one.
awesome.
that's really not mean. That's just flat out entertaining.
Hey, if you're a television executive,
You love it.
I mean, if Lincoln Riley is trying to get out of the LSU game, how quickly do you think that he would just resign his job at USC if he had to go back and play Oklahoma?
We've got to get going back. We've got to get Nebraska and Texas A&M
Maybe 1 year.
for Trev.
I do like the Oklahoma.
I think
Nebraska.
Oklahoma.
No, and that's a game. That's one of those games I remember as a kid.
Yeah.
Those iconic helmet games, and you knew it was a big deal when you saw them play, and they would actually play on national television. You get that
Yeah.
the ABC game every single year.
That was fun. So if you've got a suggestion of a potential SEC Big Ten challenge, the Courtesy GMC text line is open, 205-834-9450. We're on the Taco Terrace. FSU Dave has arrived. Big crowd. Come by and see us. This is Three Man Front. We're live at Social Taco on Jocks 94.5. It is 11:48, Jocks 94.5, Social Taco. Next hour, we're going to go over to the state of Mississippi, find out what's going on with Lane Kiffin. Evie Van Pelt's going to join us from the Rebel Walk. In the 1 o'clock hour, we're going to go to Nashville. Get a little preview of Vandy, Alabama. Also, the Titans' big winner last night. Gentry Estes will join us from the Tennessean.
Well, if you haven't experienced the new Ramblers Sports Bar and Grill at the Finnick, you got to go check it out. Ramblers has giant jumbo screens, amazing sound, beautiful brand new video boards. It's the best sports viewing experience in town. The food and drinks, absolutely exceptional. You want to watch it, they're going to have it, including NFL Sunday Ticket and Red Zone beginning tomorrow, Wednesday lunch through Sunday Night Football. You can enjoy all the games, pristine sound, and a viewing experience like no other. It is Ramblers Sports Bar and Grill at the Finnick. That's 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park.
All right, so we were just talking about this potential. So next Thursday, October the 10th in Nashville, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, and the athletic directors from both the Big Ten and the SEC, they're going to meet. They're going to have a conversation about the college football playoff. You know, the SEC and the Big Ten, they're going to flex their muscles. They're probably going to ask for more automatic qualifiers. Also, sources have told multiple media outlets that the athletic directors would like to discuss the possibility of creating something similar to the conference challenges that have become popular in college basketball for the non-conference scheduling purposes. Now, the idea is to package the SEC Big Ten non-conference games to a separate media entity. It could be sold separately to a television network, which would create a new revenue stream for both conferences. Whether that could be done with existing contracts in place is unclear. Now, there is one issue moving forward because the ACC right now, them and the Big 12 are pretty upset because with the Big 10 and the SEC already starting to flex their muscles, which they should, the ACC's worried that Florida is going to tell Florida State, we're not interested in playing you guys anymore. Then you've got South Carolina telling Clemson, not interested, you guys are ACC school. And don't forget about Georgia and Georgia Tech playing there in Atlanta or Athens. So, but we're asking you at 205-834-9450, if that challenge does come together, what would be a natural fit for an Alabama and Auburn? Who should they play from the Big Ten, maybe on a rotation basis, and kind of mix the schools up?
Yeah, maybe some other schools from outside, because some of these rivalries I forget about. This one rolls in Missouri and Illinois. They are actually rivals.
Absolutely,
I like
they are.
that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, they are.
Oh, I like this. Ole Miss and USC, the Kiffin Bowl.
I love that.
That would be good.
Bring it on. This one coming in, if they do an SEC Big Ten Challenge game, should be determined on standings from the previous season and alternate home and away games. So just say Alabama hosts the first year, they would be on the road in year two.
It's a good idea.
I like that.
Because there's going to be some teams since the Big Ten has 27 teams in the conference and we only have 16, there's going to have to be some type of rotation of teams not playing or participating.
I do believe that if Oklahoma and Nebraska did play each other, I'm picking Oklahoma on that one for if they did the rivalry.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
To each their own.
Drake, big Florida fan, says if Florida hires away Lane, why not Florida versus USC? We can do that. We'll throw that together.
That'd be a good little matchup.
Ooh, Kentucky versus Indiana.
I like that.
This is not the time you want to be catching Indiana.
No,
though.
it is not.
Curt Cignetti's got it rolling. You nervous about that game coming up?
A little bit.
I would be.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, you got to go to Bloomington.
Yeah, I'm nervous.
That place is going to be lit.
It's crazy.
That's what the kids say.
Just nuts.
It is nuts. Wild. Let's go South Carolina versus Minnesota. I like how they spelled soda like soda pop.
Soda.
And Vandy versus Northwestern. Our smart kids will kiss your kissers. I don't think they meant that. I think they meant kick instead of kiss.
Oh.
Our smart kids will thump your smart kid's butt. LOL. I cleaned it up. More coming in, and this is not necessarily on some of those matchups, but a lot coming in on Alabama, what we talked about with Ryan Williams, also Jalen Milroe, and some Auburn coming in as well. I will throw this one in from one of our great listeners in the state of Texas listening on the app. Braves are done. Fishing trip booked. All righty.
Well, they've got at least 2 games left.
You got 2 games left at least.
At least.
Get the Padres tonight. The game can be heard on Jocks 2, 100.5. This one reads from the great state of Tennessee. Pat and Landrum are going to be rooting for Tennessee to beat Bama just so Conrad has to smell that fish. LOL.
Yeah, probably.
I mean,
hey, for the betterment of the show, right?
for the betterment of the show, and it doesn't have to happen versus Tennessee, but yes, we would like to see at least one L to make Conrad endure that suffering. Don't you agree, Pat?
Yes, of course.
And Alabama still has all of their goals that they can achieve. But our goal is to make Conrad throw up when smelling that putrid fish, the surströmming. Heath asks, why would any running back want to commit to Auburn after they see week after week Hunter not getting the carries? It's fair. I mean, he's getting the carries, just not maybe the amount of carries that you think he should be getting. He had 17 for 97. Who knows what 3-4 more totes on Saturday versus Oklahoma would have meant. LOL at Isaiah Bond for leaving, and Ryan Williams is doing better than him. I haven't checked Bond's stats.
Oh, he's
As
about
of today.
350 yards and 3 touchdowns. I've been keeping receipts.
Oh, yeah. You tend to do that. I did that with Freddie Freeman his first year gone from Atlanta. Posey says theoretically they're still learning this, quote, new offense, so there would have to be new plays coming down the road. I think that all the different shifts and motions and elaborate things that Kalen DeBoer and that offense does to scheme, I think that there are always new plays or different looks that we haven't seen that you could see week to week. And for that matter, it's not just Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. It's a lot of offensive coordinators around the country. Will not read that one. Pat, how does a student reclassify in school? It's not like anyone can just say, reclassify me to another grade. That's JJ in T-Town.
JJ, basically, I could speak of how they do it at the school that my sons went to, is that you have the capability of taking so many upper-level classes, just like you do in college. And if you take enough at the high school level, because I know some juniors and seniors now in high school that they are literally taking college-credited hours in high school.
That's what I did when I was in high school.
Yeah, that will go to your transcript, whatever college you decide to go to. So all Ryan Williams did was, because I've known plenty of high school kids that graduated in December, as opposed to, I guess all of us probably graduated in the spring. But,
Yeah.
I know you went a couple extra years just because you were having so much fun.
That would have been college. That was not high school. That was college. It took my time.
You enjoyed it too much.
Well, I take 12 hours, Dad, when I can take 6.
Take
Really,
it easy.
really savor and really concentrate on those 6.
Yeah.
Other suggestions for Big Ten SEC matchups: MSU versus MSU, Tennessee versus Rutgers in the Shiano Bowl,
No, well,
Bama Penn State. Seems like we've seen that one before. I don't know if I want to see that one.
No.
Vandy Purdue. Oh, yuck!
a lot of black and gold.
You need a shower after that one.
Welcome back in to the second half of Three-Man Front here on Jocks 94.5. The guys are out at Social Taco in Homewood. They'll be out there until 2 o'clock, so make sure you go out there and join them and enjoy some of those $3 tacos because, Landrum, if I'm not mistaken, it is National Taco Day today. Is that correct?
It's National Taco Day. We like to pretend it's National Taco Day every Tuesday here at Social Taco, Conrad. But, yeah, $3 mix and match. Tacos, if you don't want a taco, you can go with a Mexican pizza. Nobody's going to judge you. We got one of our great Jocks listeners and supporters here chowing down on that Mexican pizza. I think that's the carne asada Mexican pizza. Also the burritos, you want to go with that or a bowl. All great things to choose from here at Social Taco in the Square in Homewood. And when you come in, just look at the staircase. We're up top in the Taco Terrace, and you can join us as we broadcast until 2 o'clock.
A lot of great text messages coming in. Once again, we've got 3 or 4 listeners, brand new.
BB's here.
Great opportunity to come by, and I feel bad that FSU Dave is over there eating by himself. It's kind of like he's on
It's very symbolic of their season.
Well, that's true. And it's like Florida State in general. They're the outlier. Like all the SEC guys and gals are sitting over here. Meanwhile, Florida State in the ACC is sitting all by himself.
Y'all ought to feel ashamed.
He wants to
Everybody
be a part
at
of the
this
club.
table, somebody invite him over to the cool kids table.
I mean, you got the SEC sitting over here, the ACC all by himself.
This is all right. Well, who's going to be the bigger man and go over there and join Dave?
Yeah,
FSU Dave
sitting at the cafeteria table by himself,
sitting there with his 1-4 record, just hanging out. That's right. That's right. No, what I loved is BB, and she started texting the show probably a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, and she said, I'm going to join y'all. And then she texted us today and said, hey, I'm about to come up there. None of these people have ever met BB. BB has never met any of these people, and now she is entrenched at the table.
Absolutely.
Carrying on conversation.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Very much so. The text line is open, brought to you by Courtesy GMC, 205-834-9450, and the text messages continue to roll in on a myriad of topics on this Tuesday.
Yeah, Lee texts in, says a great SEC Big Ten matchup would be Florida against Nebraska. Tommy Frazier and company cheated the Gators out of what national championship? We want revenge. Oh, I don't know if it was cheated. That was just a thumping.
It was.
That was a
big
thumping.
time. Big time
When I
thumping.
think about national championship games that didn't live up, I think about TCU and Georgia first in that 65-7 drubbing. But shortly thereafter, I think about what Nebraska did to Florida. That was rough. Rodney texts into the show. Hugh Freeze keeps saying the same thing. He said Hunter should have got more carries. If he wanted Hunter to get more carries, he would sit down the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, the first-string quarterback, the second-string quarterback, and the water boy and say, if number 27 doesn't get 27 carries, some heads are going to roll. That's Rodney in Trussville. He did admit to it, but I think what Rodney's saying is how many times you're going to have to say that after a loss. Go ahead and make it happen. Thank you, Rodney, for the text. Got to have USC versus South Carolina. Will the real USC please stand up? I don't hate that. This one rolls in. Did Saban save Billy Napier job with his comments last week on game day, stating what did Florida do with its facilities when Urban was there? You're on your fourth coach. Sorry if already answered. We may have missed it.
I mean, no offense to Nick Saban, but I think the University of Florida is going to do what the University of Florida wants to do. You know what I'm saying? I think that die has already been cast. I just think it's a matter of time before they make that move.
I do
Brian
also
says-
think that the criticisms that Saban made about the program, though, are valid because you had opportunities to strike while the iron was hot,
No question.
and here you are now.
No, I think what Nick Saban said was absolutely 100% accurate. I'm just saying that, the people at the University of Florida are going to do what the people at the University of Florida want to do. They're not going to rely on Nick Saban to tell them what they should do, because keep in mind that Billy Napier was a really, really good assistant coach for Nick Saban at the University of Alabama. So, I mean, he was one of the top recruiters on that staff when he was in Tuscaloosa. Just had an outstanding reputation. And that's what – oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodess.
So good.
Oh, my goodness. So one of our regulars
Oh, my goodness.
has shown up, and he
If he
literally
will let me borrow. Can I borrow that for real quick? Can I borrow it real quick to show our viewers on Jocks TV?
or just swing by and let him.
All right,
Tell him
we'll talk to him.
Okay. All right.
He took a page out of Bama Haters' wardrobe.
Oh, do we have a chain?
We have a
Oh,
chain.
yeah.
We have an Alabama chain.
Come over here. Get on the camera. Come over here.
Oh, well, no.
Does Burr have an Alabama chain on? Is that what this is?
No.
Not to turn
Hey,
the camera.
turn the camera towards him.
Turn the camera over there.
Now move that.
That is great.
There you go.
Wow.
So you're watching on YouTube right now. You are seeing the fun and frivolity that we have here at Social Taco.
He has a scripted Alabama A with a crimson chain.
Do you see
around
this,
his
Conrad? Do
neck.
you see it on your
yeah.
monitors?
Oh, yeah, this is great.
That's big. That's big time.
That's huge.
Very nice.
Nicely done.
Good job. Very nice. What inspired you?
Oh, well, this was the biggest game of the season for me. I'm good from now on. I mean, I don't care what the rest of the season
It was this to Georgia. You wanted to get Kirby
yeah. I mean,
because of Mike Griffith. You wanted to take out Georgia.
well, I was tired of hearing that we eliminated the consecutive win streak.
Right.
And then it became just a regular win streak, and now we've ended that. So they don't have anything else to talk about. The rest of the season is a win. I don't care what else happens.
That's right.
Tell our viewers what's your name you want to go by here.
Creed White.
Creed. Oh, actual name. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. We just put it out there if you would like to throw out.
Because that's not
It's
That's
okay.
not Landrum's real name.
Yeah, I don't have any.
That's his stage
slang
name.
Stage
but,
name. Stage name.
Yeah.
Well, first off, you look great,
Yeah, Creed. That's
and we always
very
appreciate
nicely
you
done.
every Tuesday you're here. So we
Yeah.
we
Well-
appreciate that greatly.
Well, it was a time to cheer for our team. Yeah,
There you go.
so-
Well,
Time
you,
to flex. You can flex now, right?
well, you heard the fans. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Fans were fired up when they saw you.
yeah.
I didn't know if I had to double check to make sure you weren't Bama hater, but you're wearing the crimson. So
I did not mistaken you for Bama hater, but
No.
I knew exactly the look that you were trying to pull off.
I came with Bluetooth audio and everything. Yeah.
that was good. That was good.
Creed, thanks for joining us today, man.
All right,
and
thank you.
every Tuesday. Happy National
All right.
Taco Day.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, go
thank
get
you.
some tacos.
All right, absolutely.
Thank
All right.
you.
That's Creed White,
That's awesome.
a.k.a. rest of college football hater.
Why don't you dress that way when you come to Social Taco?
I don't know where they get these chains. I have no idea. Text still rolling in. 205-834-9450. This one says, I'm going to need y'all to do a satellite show from a restaurant in Nashville.
Come on.
I felt very left out every Tuesday. Your extended family is at Social Taco in spirit.
Hey,
Thank you.
Hey, this show will travel.
SEC basketball tournament. Let's go.
Yep, we will go. Alabama and Auburn will probably be number 1, number 2 seed for the tournament, right?
Yeah.
At the SEC basketball tournament. So
This one rolling in for Auburn. How can they run and shrink the game and have trouble scoring? Ken, you would not have all the interconference games on the same weekend. TV would prefer to schedule the games over multiple weekends to maximize return on their investment. That's a good point. Scatter them out, not all on the same weekend. Chill says Bama versus the whole Big Ten. We ain't scared. Back to Jarquez. Matt from Maplesville. I think there has to be a problem of Jarquez not being able to take 30 carries. He only takes a few snaps and he comes out. I can't say for certain, but I don't know. That's all on the coaches. Maybe he doesn't want that many touches. Maybe he's more explosive when he doesn't take 30 carries. I'm not believing they haven't tried it at practice or anything after 4 years. Just a thought. Who knows? Haven't heard that. This question rolling in, where's Bama Hater? Best caller on the show is MIA. He should be celebrating. What a great win they had.
Oh,
over
that was
Virginia Tech on
tremendous.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
we've
won
not-
that game? We're
Yeah,
calling that
they-
one a win?
Well, the ACC is still reviewing.
Yeah. We'll find out eventually.
Yeah, we'll see.
They can't retroactively right before the champion. I'm kidding.
No, not unless somebody's illegal.
Brian says Bama, Nebraska, so Bama breaks Molly's heart.
Ooh, wow.
That's ruthless.
Why would someone say that? It's our job to break her heart, not the listeners.
College football is nothing more than minor league NFL. I'm about done. I know you say that, but can you really just turn it off?
Remember when everyone said they stopped watching the NFL and the viewership numbers just kind of seem to keep increasing over time?
Yeah. Johnny texts in and says, we haven't heard Caden Proctor's name in either of the games he has played in, and that's a great thing. Not one penalty on him that I can recall. Caden Proctor, any penalties?
No. Matter of fact, if you looked at Pro Football Focus, the whole entire offensive line, they performed very, very well in regards to the amount of pressures they gave up, things of that nature. I mean, they had an outstanding game against Georgia.
I mean, Milroe was sacked 0 times. There's not a lot of times you can say that in his career at Alabama so far.
No. Skinny J asks, how does Ryan Williams compare to Tyrone Prothro?
As a freshman?
I think just as a player. He was good. Prothro was outstanding. And maybe it was just because we're seeing it this year, but Ryan Williams just strikes me as different. Just different than – I mean, there have been some greats, but he is on pace to do something absolutely stupid in his freshman season.
I wonder if part of it, too, just from, like, the Alabama side of things is I know, it hasn't been that long, but, it's been a handful of years – not a handful. It's been, like, 3 years since you've had kind of that true dominant wide receiver. So I feel like maybe the fans appreciate it a little more because it felt like for a while there it was just rinse and repeat every year, and now you didn't have it for a couple years, so you appreciate it a little more with Ryan Williams.
Maybe so. Keep the text rolling in, 205-834-9450. That is your best way to interact with us here on the show.
You can always come up here and enjoy some great food, as we do. But I'm serious. Like, if you just want to come up here and just get some chips and salsa and get you a nice adult beverage and just sit and watch.
Yeah, just people watch.
It is like it's like going to the Galleria Mall back in its heyday and just sitting on a bench.
Walmart and Jasper for me.
Oh, really? That's where you used to go?
Yeah, we go to the lake. Oh, you go and you hang out at Walmart and Jasper. Mm-hmm. You find yourself just wasting the whole day away.
That was your go-to place?
If you had to go into town and get some stuff,
yeah,
you go in there and you find yourself taking a seat, maybe getting something out of the snack bar.
Mm-hmm.
And just watching.
Yeah. Good crowd.
It's a great crowd. It's Social Taco.
New people.
New people. BB hasn't left. She hasn't been offended. That's good.
No. I don't know. Damien just showed up, so you never know. That might be BB might be heading for the hills soon.
Oh, D.
We are live at Social Taco. Come by and see us. We'll be here until 2 o'clock. It is Taco Tuesday. $3 tacos. Come on by and see us. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. It is 12:17 on a gorgeous day.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Beautiful day is
It's
you too. Why do
beautiful.
you mess with my buttons?
Because when it goes red line,
I understand that.
it was hot.
Over
It was hot.
modulation.
It was hot.
I haven't touched it.
Hot in a bad way.
Okay.
Not good hot.
Well, you know what? When it comes to plumbing, always have a pro on standby. That's Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They're family-owned and operated. They handle everything. Write this number down, 205-516-4927. That's 516-4927. Faucet repairs, water heater maintenance, commercial plumbing, sewer line repairs, and so much more. One call to this number, 205-516-4927. And they will do it all for you. Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing. Go to ironmountainworld.com for a free quote. Big or small, Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing does it all. ironmountainworld.com. Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, 205-516-4927. All right, so don't know if you know this, but today is an anniversary of another Alabama-Georgia game. 30 years ago today, back in 1994, it was the primetime game on ESPN. That's right, Franklin, Gottfried. Oh, it was a great crowd in Tuscaloosa. They had not built the upper deck on the other side. It looked weird if you watched the game when Bryant Denny didn't have both upper decks. This is the way it sounded towards the end of the game with 1 minute and 12 seconds left to go.
32 yards. That's the distance of the attempt. He nailed it. So Michael Proctor at 1:12 left in the ball game with a 32-yard field goal. And once again, our final score from Bryant Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The Alabama Crimson Tide with a come-from-behind 29-28 victory.
That's the way it sounded. That's Ron Franklin on the call as Alabama, number 9 in America, knocked off number 23 Georgia, 29-28. The Tide moved to 4-0, 3-0 in the SEC. The offense had just averaged, Landrum, 116 yards passing in their previous 4 games, scored twice in the fourth quarter to rally the 28-19 deficit. Jay Barker was 26 of 33 for a career-high 396 yards, the second-best yardage performance in school history at the time, and a pair of touchdown throws to raise his career record as a starter to 28, 1-1 at the University of Alabama. If you remember Eric Zier, he was the one that came into the game. He was getting all the press. Eric Zier was going to potentially be a Heisman Trophy candidate.
And it was well-deserved, by the way.
No, absolutely. Eric Zier was a fantastic quarterback.
Flamethrower.
He completed 25 of 33 for 263 yards, 4 touchdowns against the Alabama defense. Georgia fell to 3-2 on the season, 2-2 in the Southeastern Conference. But so you heard Proctor. He kicks the field goal with 1:12, okay? He kicks the field goal, but then just like the other night, guess what happens? Eric Zier is able to take them down the field. So Alabama's defense, they stiffened. They would not let them get in field goal range, and they held them out on 4th down. So Georgia couldn't even get a kickoff, but Alabama held on for a 29-28 victory, and that was the game that propelled Jay Barker into the Heisman Trophy conversation. Of course, he finished as one of the top vote getters that year for the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, his memories and just the team of Gottfried and Franklin, and remembering just the nostalgia of all of that. I can remember exactly where I was watching that game. No, that was a heck of a game. Nobody expected it from the Barker side. Everyone expected it from the Zier side.
Yeah.
But those two stat lines and what we got, that was such an entertaining football game.
I mean, for an Alabama quarterback back in 1994.
That was unheard of.
To throw for 396 yards. And Eric Zier, who was known under the Goff offense. You know, Ray Goff was the head coach of the Georgia Dogs back then. I mean, he lit up the scoreboard every week, but he was held to 263 yards passing, but he did have 4 touchdowns.
Do we have any kind of number yet on
No, I've been
this
a couple
past Saturday?
Now, I will tell you a little bit of news from College Game Day, and this is a big number. College Game Day had 2.3 million viewers on Saturday. They had 3 million the final hour of the broadcast. You know, that's when they do the guest picking. It's the best September episode of College Game Day since 2010 and the second best overall in the month of September. So huge, huge numbers for College Game Day over this previous weekend. I have not seen a national number yet about the game.
I would think it's going to be the highest rated that we've had so far this season.
No doubt.
And it will be in the top 3 when it comes to most watched by I don't know. It'll be in the top 5. Most watched college football games when it's all said and done.
Also, we've got the Atlanta Braves. They're going to take on the San Diego Padres coming up tonight. You can hear that game on Jocks 2 100.5. And a little bit of news. It is now official. Chris Sale has been officially left off the Atlanta Braves postseason roster in the wild card series. Now, they will have an opportunity if he's feeling better and the Braves advance. They could make that adjustment. But as of this moment, he's officially out in the wild card series as he is left off the postseason roster for the Atlanta Braves. Max Fried is scheduled to go tonight.
4 days rest. The last time that Max Fried pitched, it was against Kansas City, and that was that last Friday? Then the 27th?
Sounds right.
Yeah, that would have been last Friday, the 27th. So you would not expect that he's able to go 8 2/3 innings like he did in that start, but you got to throw somebody out there, and maybe if you can get that from Max Fried and the Braves can get the bats going against a very tough pitcher, then you get one game, and then the next 2 games, see what happens. I don't foresee a sweep, but weirder things have happened in Major League Baseball, and you know this better than anybody, Pat. You come in, you're limping, you're short on pitching. Iglesias, he has to go for 2 games yesterday. Joe Jimenez has to go for 2 games. You're already a little bit depleted just because of injuries and other things, but no rest for the weary. This is when some of that postseason magic we get in Major League Baseball seems to happen. I don't know if it'll happen for our Braves coming up tonight, but I give the Braves more than a fighting chance to go out there and at least win one. Heck, they took 2 of 3 when they played out at Petco earlier this season.
You've heard me talk about this a million times when it comes to baseball. There have been times in my lifetime when I've watched teams, win over 100 games, and they get bowed out in the first round. I've seen wild card teams. Think about this. Back in 2006, the Cardinals finished with an 83-79 record. Okay? Barely made it to the playoffs. Barely. Won the World Series. This year, the Cardinals went 83-79 and finished 10 games out in the National League Central and about 8 games out of the wild card. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's just.
And I told you last year, the Braves cruising and winning over 100 games and just dominating all season. I hated that feeling of knowing that they were going to have to sit and wait and have the extended time off and then have to face eventually a team that was playing great baseball. Sometimes I think some of these guys that would just rather just keep playing as opposed to having that extended time off that you don't get with the exception of the All-Star break.
So we also told you about a little bit of conference news going on. It appears sometime today Gonzaga is officially going to be a new member to the Pac-12 conference. Obviously, they don't have a football team, so this will be in basketball and other sports. The Mountain West, they have admitted UTEP into its conference. And now Ross Dellinger is reporting that the Mountain West is in deep and serious discussions with FCS member Tarleton State. I know you brought them up the other day and you laughed.
No, I said call Tarleton State.
They need one more full member to qualify as a conference. So now we're talking about trying to bring an FCS school up to play FBS. Talks between the Texas-based FCS school and the conference have progressed. So we'll see what happens there.
Very exciting.
I can tell. I can tell.
Of all the exciting news we've gotten over the calendar year.
So it's not UTEP that excites you. It's Tarleton State.
It's
possibly.
Tarleton State. It's that new blood. Can you imagine some of the matchups we're going to get?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Well, one matchup we are going to get this weekend is South Carolina hosting the Ole Miss Rebels.
South Kakalaki.
We did not think that we'd be talking about Lane Kiffin, a must-win against South Carolina. We will talk to Evie Van Pelt from the Rebel Walk. She will join us next. We'll get her thoughts on Lane Kiffin losing over the weekend, and what's next for this Rebel team as they try to regroup against the South Carolina Gamecocks. We're live at Social Taco. Crowd continues to funnel in. Come by and see us. We're located at the Taco Terrace here. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5. We're back at Social Taco. This is National Taco Day. Come by and see us. We'll be here until 2 o'clock. Take you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show. Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson with you here on Three Man Front. You know, it's almost time, Birmingham. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is opening on Monday, October the 7th at 4610 U.S. Highway 280. Come be one of the first to see the new store and the best in sports equipment, outdoor gear, clothing, and shoes at low prices. Check out Academy's wide selection of brands like Nike, Stanley, Brooks, Carhartt, Blackstone, Yeti, Titleist, Shimano, and more. Don't miss their grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October the 13th. Plus shop grand opening deals Thursday through Sunday. In the meantime, check them out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25. Join the fun at our newest Academy Sports and Outdoor store in Birmingham. That's 4610 U.S. Highway 280. Joining us on the Buyers Ride Hotline, good friend of the program, Evie Van Pelt joins us from the Rebel Walk. Hey, Evie, I hope you're doing well on this Taco Tuesday.
Oh man, well, in talking with Molly before I came on, I'm trying to recover. I'm trying to throw that Kentucky game in the trash, but I'll be honest, guys, it's not been easy for me.
Well, let's start there, Evie, because we all looked at the schedule for Ole Miss. We looked at the roster that Lane had put together. I mean, what was the most shocking thing to you watching that game on Saturday as it all played out there as the upset? I mean, being a 17-point favorite and then losing straight up to Kentucky.
I think probably if I want to get down to a micro level, I think probably going 1 for 10 on third down conversions was probably the biggest shock to me because Ole Miss just has so many weapons. I mean, we've talked about them. Everybody's talked about them. That was shocking to me. But, you know, even more so, I think really kind of the play calling was a head scratcher. You know, in the fourth quarter when they were driving down and had to answer Kentucky's touchdown and they're down 20-17, Ole Miss is driving, they throw the ball to Caden Prescore, and it was really a prayer. I mean, I think that's really what it was. He catches it, and that was his late in the game, 2 minutes or less to go. That was his first target in the game. And I think that, you know, that's the offensive MVP from the Peach Bowl. And I think, you know, Rebels are a little, you know, curious as to why maybe he didn't get more targets. Where's Ulysses Bentley? I mean, there's a lot of questions. But I think that 1 for 10 really kind of told the tale of the game.
You know, and Evie and Pat said it, and the schedule based on the talent, what was coming back, this seemed like the most complete team that not only Lane Kiffin had there, but maybe the most talented roster front and back that we've seen in Oxford, Mississippi in quite some time. With all of that and seeming like the stars had aligned and this was going to be a college football playoff-bound team, what was the sentiment of a lot of Rebel fans concerning some of those tough games coming up and the outlook of potentially missing out on a college football playoff?
Well, I tell you what, I think the mentality is still not good right now. I mean, I think you've got some Rebel fans that are going, okay, now we've got to turn our attention to South Carolina because that, I think, really is do or die. I think nobody expected to lose to Kentucky, and frankly, maybe the team didn't expect to lose to Kentucky. Maybe that was part of the problem going in. I don't know, but I think there's still a shot. I mean, Lane Kiffin said that Monday that he never addresses things with the players like playoffs and such like that, but he did Monday say to them because he knew they were going to get questions about it. Everything that you want is still out there. So, I mean, yes, theoretically, I think if they run the table or maybe, you know, maybe lose one more, I don't know, depending on, you know, who it was to, that's still out there. But that being said, Rebel fans, I think, are very, very disappointed. And I think we talked about it on this show. Is it college football playoffs or bust this year, you know, for the fan base? And I think absolutely that's the case. I think there was a whole lot of buy-in, you know, with the roster and the money that was spent and such. And so you know, the mentality is a little rough around the edges right now.
Talking to Evie Van Pelt, you can follow her on Twitter, Ole Miss Evie. Also, you can follow her work at the Rebel Walk. So you just talked about the pressure about this. It's been well documented that a couple of years ago he had a flirtation with Auburn. It was a situation where he basically went to Ole Miss people and said, hey, listen, if we want to be competitive in this league, we have got to step up our NIL. And it's really safe to say that Ole Miss, from an NIL collective standpoint, the Grove, they have just done an incredible job to the point to where Arkansas and everybody else in the conference is jealous from the numbers. I've been told it's close to 8,000, not 5,000, in regards to people that put forth the money for this program. And Ole Miss doesn't get to Atlanta, or Ole Miss doesn't get one of those at-large for the college football playoff. What kind of pressure is Lane Kiffin going to feel from a lot of hardworking people that give money monthly to this collective.
Right. You hit the nail on the head there. I think what happens is now that we're in this era of NIL and we're in an era of, contribute to the Grove Collective, for whatever the lowest level is, $20 a month
right.
or, whatever it is. And I think people start feeling a whole lot more ownership of a program, so to speak. I think that they feel much more able to say, well, these players are getting paid, or, well, I'm contributing my money to this. And let's face it, I mean, I know they appreciate all the members and absolutely it adds up, but $20 a month, you're not covering Trey Harris, right? You're not covering Trey Harris's salary. But, maybe 8,000 strong possibly could. But I just think in this era, you've got a lot more folks who feel, I'm seeing it on social media, people questioning things that, now they're paying for it. So they feel like they've got more of a say-so.
This is all speculation, and that's what we do, as you know, here in this business and on this show. If Lane Kiffin is truly Florida's target when Billy Napier, not if, but when he is ousted there in Gainesville, what have you heard about the Ole Miss folks, the people that stroke the big checks? Are they prepared to do whatever it takes, quote unquote, to keep Lane Kiffin, or is there just a top dollar that they're not willing to go further than?
It's funny. I've talked about this with some Ole Miss folks that I know kind of across the spectrum of giving levels. And to a man, whether it's a lower level or some pretty hefty donors, they're in favor of whatever it takes. And I think they feel like, look, we're at $9.5 million right now in terms of Lane's salary. To keep him, if it took another $2 million, okay. Because let's take a look at it. Lane right now is, his dog is even the de facto mascot these days. We had the SIP painted in the end zones. Lane is a marketing machine. And so I just feel like I think Keith Carter, the AD, will be prepared to do whatever he needs to do. Now, if that were something crazy, like we're at $9.5 million and, we got to go to 15, maybe not. But I definitely think, I kept hearing a number around 11 million for Florida, and I think Ole Miss could do that.
Talking to Evie Van Pelt from the Rebel Walk joins us, kind of analyzing what's going on with this Ole Miss program right now in regards to them coming off that tough loss to Kentucky. So you're saying maybe one more loss? Because, listen, we're just being honest. When we looked at the schedule, we said, you know what? It's going to be tough because Georgia is Georgia. And even coming to Oxford, okay, you say they might stump their toe in that one. But losing to Kentucky, and you're playing a spunky South Carolina team that probably should have beaten LSU, and they took Kentucky, the team that Ole Miss just lost to, took them to the woodshed in Lexington. So this is a more difficult game than maybe, I don't know, what are your readers thinking, or the people on social media?
I think they're very worried. I think it opened at 11.5, and I think maybe it's down to 9.5. I think Ole Miss fans are kind of befuddled. I think they think that's really high. So, and I do too, frankly, because I think it's going to be a very, very tough game. I think it's going to be hard for Ole Miss. I think they have the added pressure of, if you really want to say this is a do or die game, it really kind of is. I think if you drop this game and then you've still got LSU at Tiger Stadium, you've still got Georgia, you've still got Oklahoma, I just think that would be rather difficult. But at this point, having lost to Kentucky, I think, if you could come out of South Carolina with a win, if you could win in Baton Rouge, then I think maybe you've traded, a loss at home for Kentucky for maybe what some people assumed would be a loss in Baton Rouge. So I think you could, go into that Georgia game probably about where a lot of people thought maybe they would be, maybe with one loss. But you lose to South Carolina, and I think at that point, then I think it would be, it would be really interesting to see how the team responds to that.
Not only that, Evie, you go to South Carolina, then you have to follow that up after a week off for LSU, go to Tiger Stadium, take on a team that seems like they're kind of finding themselves maybe at the right time, the right point of the season. But the good news for Lane Kiffin, especially, and all Ole Miss fans, is Alabama is not on that schedule. And it turns out Alabama's still really, really good.
Yes, I definitely think so. And I know, Auburn's not on that schedule, and A&M's not on that schedule. And I know Auburn right now, we're kind of, Ole Miss is not laughing and making fun of Auburn at this point. But, on any given day, it's still SEC football. And I think that's what scares me about South Carolina, that 31-6 thumping of Kentucky, and came very close. They probably should have beaten LSU. So I tell you, I don't think there's a Rebel fan out there who would tell you they're comfortable going into Williams-Brice Saturday. So, and Ole Miss is going to have to, they're going to have to kind of alter their game plan a little bit. They had no ground game at all against Kentucky. It's like they just conceded it. And the time of possession was insane. Kentucky did what Kentucky does. They held the ball for 40 minutes of the game and ground it out, and Ole Miss would get out there and go 3 and out. And so they're going to have a little bit more of a game plan other than just throw it to Trey Harris, which is a good plan.
Yeah, that's a great plan.
Worked.
Yeah,
it almost worked, but yeah, it's just you probably need a little bit more of a plan down the road.
Yeah, there's no doubt. That is Evie Van Pelt. Evie, it's always great to catch up. Stay well, and we will talk at you soon.
I really appreciate y'all having me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Evie.
Thanks,
that is Evie Van Pelt joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline, Landrum. And, man, just some really honest, down-to-earth analysis of where this Ole Miss program is right now.
Yeah, and what she said about the fans, looking at this game, this is absolutely a game that you have to have right there square in your sights. Because South Carolina, not only would you mention that they did there in Lexington at Kroger Field, but South Carolina at home, that fan base knowing you got a ranked team that's going to be rolling in.
And they had a week off. Had a week off to prepare.
This is what makes it so much fun as we lead in and we get the schedules and we look at the schedules. Never saw South Carolina being potentially what they were going to be. And then you start looking at the rest of the schedule. Ooh, Lane Kiffin finishing 9-3 potentially. I don't know if Keith Carter's going to be trying to break the bank to keep him there after the way that this season, at least on paper, was set up.
Yeah. Listen, completely different scenario of what's going on at Auburn. But the way Auburn had it set up the first 5 games of the season playing at home.
Yeah.
And then Ole Miss and their schedule with what they opened up with and the people that they did not have to play. They did not have to play Auburn. They did not have to play Alabama. They did not have to play Texas A&M. So this was the perfect situation for Lane Kiffin, and it has obviously hit a big old bump in the road. And if it hits another one, then if I'm Keith Carter and somebody comes calling for Lane Kiffin, see you.
Adios, muchacho.
See you later. More 3-Man Front. We're live at Social Taco. Conrad Van Order is on site. He's been taking pictures, giving out some new 8x10 glossies, by the way, that look great. Whoever did those for you.
Thank you. Me and Paige had a little photo shoot the other day. Got me all dolled up at home.
Yeah,
we don't.
Not today.
No, we don't need to.
I put it on a silver platter for you.
No, not today.
Nope.
Serious things going on.
Yep. Nope.
There's tacos to be eaten.
Yeah. It's National Taco Day. We're not talking about that.
Sicko.
Okay. I was just trying to give you a little look into my personal life.
When are you going to be doing creepy things in your corner? When are we doing that?
I don't know. We can do it next if you want.
Well, you are sitting in the corner.
I am sitting in the corner, and I have my notes ready to go. I'm ready to let Landrum down yet again.
All right.
Can you smell his feet from there?
I'm afraid so. All right. We're coming back with Conrad's Fantasy Corner. He'll tell you all the players you need to put on your team this week as they get ready for a big, exciting week of NFL fantasy. That's next on 3 Man Front.
.1251, 3-Man Front, live from Social Taco on National Taco Day. Glad you're with us. Glad our Great Jocks listeners have joined us here in the Taco Terrace. New members today that are dropping by, some old favorites, but we're here 10 until 2 every single Tuesday up top inside of Social Taco. SocialTaco.bar for more information. And another one of our great listeners, looks like he's been working out. Definitely arm day for that guy. Got some big old biceps. And his buddy, who is wearing a Florida shirt, well represented. I know all Florida fans don't know each other, but PG acts like that he knows this guy. And
he's now miscorrectly identifying Don as a Florida fan.
This is wonderful. Look, just for as Pat mentioned earlier, just from the viewing and the people watching here at Social Taco, it is worth every single moment.
Now Don spewing blasphemy about Alabama over there. I hear that. I hear it.
Keep receipts. Is it time to go in the corner?
It is. I'm already here.
All right, let's go in Conrad's corner.
Touchdown! Conrad's Fantasy Corner.
All right, quick roundtable real quick. Molly, what is your current fantasy football record in our fantasy football league?
Well, I got my first win. I beat
Hey.
Damien.
Hey, we were wondering if that would ever happen.
Over
Yes,
Damien.
I
There
beat
we
him.
go.
So I think I'm now like 1-3.
You are. I'm 3-1, and Conrad is perfect.
Oh, I was going to leave that out, but thank you for bringing that
No,
up.
I'll bring it
Landrum.
up.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
nipping at your heels.
I appreciate it. All right, so let's get started with our fantasy football breakdown for the week. So quick note, first off the bat, bye weeks are starting in the NFL. So this is the fun time where you have to kind of manage your roster a little more closely. So this week, 4 teams on bye. You have the Detroit Lions, the Tennessee Titans, the LA Chargers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. So if you have any players from those teams in your lineup, make sure that you take them out. All right, now let's get, as we start off normally, with the top scorers from last week. Landrum will like this one. The top scorer last week in fantasy football, Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens, 35.9 fantasy points. Kenneth Walker in second place, 33.6, had a big game last night for the Seahawks. And then third, Nico Collins, wide receiver for the Texans, had 33.1. We're a quarter of the way through the season, so your top fantasy scores on the season as a whole. Number 1, Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints with 106.6. Saquon Barkley second with 98 points. And the third best player in fantasy football, Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback for the Washington Commanders, 93.6 fantasy points. What a start to his career he is having there in Washington. All right, let's get to the injuries you need to be monitoring this week in fantasy football. One of the big ones, Rashee Rice, the number 1 receiver for the Chiefs. He is out with a knee injury. We'll find out more this week, but it looks like it's going to be serious. Don't think it's an ACL, but it looks like he will be sidelined for a significant amount of time, which is bad for me because I have him in one of my teams. We have Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, who are both questionable for the Colts.
Richardson sucks.
Anthony Richardson is more likely to play with his hip injury. Sorry, Landrum. Jonathan Taylor, a little more questionable.
Stuck with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. All right, the good news is if you did get Nick Chubb early on and stash him on the injured reserve on your roster, he is going to be back at practice this week for the Browns, so that's big news there. But he won't be back for a couple more weeks in game action, but something worth keeping an eye on. Christian Watson, receiver for the Packers, he is going to be out this week with an ankle injury. That has already been confirmed. A couple of tight ends back in the mix this week is Trey McBride from the Cardinals and David Njoku from the Browns are both expected to finally return this Sunday. For the Houston Texans, Joe Mixon and Tank Dell are still questionable. Both were held out this past week, but they look like they might be coming back this Sunday. Devontae Adams, still questionable with the Raiders, but his situation, tell me if you heard this before, he's not happy. And some NFL experts believe he may not play another snap for the Raiders. So
He's such a joy.
Unless he gets traded, maybe manage expectations for Devontae Adams. I have him too. Great. Taysom Hill, he is questionable, had a couple of touchdowns for the Saints last week. So he is questionable. Malik Neighbors, one of the stars of the fantasy season so far, he got a concussion last week against the Cowboys. He's questionable but expected to play this weekend. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are still both out this week for the Eagles, but expected to come back next week. So that's good news for owners of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Austin Eckler, still questionable. That's going to be a big piece when he comes back because the Commanders' offense has been exceptional so far. Mike Evans had another big week for the Bucs. He's questionable as well, but trending towards playing. And your weekly Christian McCaffrey update. This guy, it just keeps getting worse. He now has Achilles tendonitis in both of his legs, according to Kyle Shanahan. He went to Germany to see a specialist. Going to be a minute before we see Christian McCaffrey. Now, wrapping up with some players you might want to add to your roster. Real quick, at wide receiver, you have Mike Williams of the Jets, Wan'Dale Robinson of the Giants, Xavier Legette from the Panthers, and Dontavian Wicks from the Packers. At quarterback, Justin Fields and Sam Darnold still available in a lot of leagues. And at running back, how about Kareem Hunt making his return to the Kansas City Chiefs while they're dealing with the Pacheco injury? He is definitely worth a pickup this week. And there's your fantasy football update.
You can breathe now.
I can breathe now.
Exhale.
Also, if you need a defense, Dolphins and Patriots are playing each other this week. Both of those offenses are terrible, so just pick one.
When we come back on three-man front, we'll go to Nashville, Tennessee. We'll talk a little bit about Vandy, Bama, and also the Titans. Gentry Estes is going to join us next. Plus, when we come back, I'll tell you how many people watched Alabama and Georgia. The ratings are in. That's next on Three-Man Front. As we begin hour number 4, we're live at Social Taco for one more hour. The crowd has been tremendous today. I always appreciate the great listeners of Jocks 94.5 coming by, supporting Social Taco and also supporting the program. So thank you very much. We're going to talk to Gentry Estes momentarily from the Tennessean, an outstanding columnist up in Nashville. He's actually still in Miami. He covered the Titans game last night. We'll talk to him about a myriad of topics going on around Music City. But I wanted to pass this along. The ratings for this weekend's games, they are out. No big surprise, Georgia-Alabama was the most watched college football game of the week. 11.985 million people tuned into the game. That is the average viewers.
That's pretty good.
The second most was Oklahoma-Auburn.
No, okay, looky there.
5 million viewers.
Wow, that's a big gap. I mean, nothing. I mean, just saying how big that Alabama-Georgia game was.
You always got to make it a competition, don't you? Just kidding.
So the Alabama-Georgia game, if you put that in comparison to last year, that would be the 5th most watched college football game of last season. And that includes national championship game, college football playoffs, regular season. So that's a huge number.
So what I tell you, my prediction was by the time it was all said and done, that would be a top 5.
Yep. As of right now, it would be number 5 on last year's list. The number of games, the viewers. So.
I wonder if the extra playoff games are going to make that bump it down the list a little bit.
So 17 million people across this great country of ours on Saturday was tuned in to football played in the state of Alabama.
That's pretty cool.
And they saw 2 really exciting games.
They sure did. Joining us now on the Buyers Right Hotline, he is an outstanding columnist for the Tennessean. Gentry Estes joins us here on Three Man Front. Gentry, I'm sure the weather is just absolutely gorgeous in Miami right now.
Yeah, it's hot. I mean, like sauna hot. It's one of those where you walk out of the airport and your glasses fog up, you know. Feels like the middle of July down here. I don't know. I'm ready for fall. It's been too hot for too long, and then you come down here and it just punches you right in the face.
Okay, so before we talk some college football with you and talk that ball, let's talk about what happened last night in Miami. As the Titans get their first win of the season, just talk a little bit about this new regime for the Titans and finally getting a win against a battered and beaten up Miami Dolphins team.
Yeah, Miami was not very good, and this is the second year in a row the Titans have played a Monday night game down here. Last year Miami was ready for the playoffs. They had it rolling, and the Titans beat them late in the year, and it was actually a big loss for Miami. But the atmosphere in the stadium for that game than what it was last night. You can just tell, to win in this league, you need a quarterback, and obviously with what happened with Tua, Miami doesn't have one right now, and it's just not a very good team. And it's a good offense usually, but it was not last night. The Titans were able to pretty much stop anything the Dolphins wanted to do, and that allowed the Titans to kind of pull away late and win, a pretty ugly game that didn't feature a whole lot of offense, I guess, until the very end. The Titans didn't do a whole lot throwing the ball. They ran the ball. They played good defense, and they didn't turn the ball over, which is something that had been an issue for the Titans in their first 3 games, which were all losses. Kind of the big headline for Titans fans, Will Levis got hurt in the first quarter. He tried to dive for a first down and hurt his shoulder, so he didn't play the rest of the game. I don't think it's a long-term injury for him, but Mason Rudolph, the backup, came in and didn't play phenomenally, but he didn't make any mistakes. He didn't lose him the game. So I think the big talking point there is, how safe is Will Levis' job moving forward? I actually think it's pretty safe. I think the Titans are going to see that through, but that was kind of the big storyline from here.
Gentry, I do want to ask you, with moving on from Mike Vrabel and starting the Callahan era, were Titans fans, was that unanimous as far as moving on from Vrabel and wanting somebody fresh to come in, or was it split among the fan base?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it unanimous. I mean, Vrabel was a very popular coach for a lot of reasons. I think the Titans, for a number of years, kind of had a star coach. And not only that, he was a good coach. In 2021, Mike Vrabel was the NFL Coach of the Year. And just a couple of years later, it shows how quick things can turn in that league. A couple of years later, they're struggling to the finish line. There were a lot of reasons behind that decision, some internal, palace intrigue kind of things with people getting along, and I think that had something to do with it. But in terms of the fan base, there were a lot of people that didn't agree with that decision and still don't. Just because Brian Callahan comes in, he inherits a rebuilding team, had never been a head coach before. So you've got a head coach who's kind of learning on the job a little bit. You've got a quarterback in Will Levis who's definitely learning on the job. And so far, it hasn't been a great combination. This does not look like a playoff team right now.
So I got to ask you one more question about the Titans, and it's kind of going down the same road Landrum asked, but I want to ask about Derrick Henry. Seeing the kind of performance that he had the other night for Baltimore and what he is going to do for that offense. What are folks in the Music City saying about Derrick Henry no longer being a Titan?
Yeah, I think that one was a little more I think if given the choice between Vrabel and Henry, I think Henry was the one that upset fans quite a bit more in terms of who wasn't coming back. And, it was kind of telegraphed late last season. Derrick's contract was expiring, and after the last game, he took the microphone on the field and said kind of his goodbye to the fans. And that one felt mutual. It felt like the team was kind of trying to move forward, new coach, new offense. Things had kind of gotten stale with Derrick in terms of just handing him the ball 35 times and winning games that way. It wasn't his fault. It was the fault of a lot of people around him, especially the offensive line. But they were kind of moving in a different direction. And it felt like Derrick kind of wanted to move in 1-2. So that's how it goes. And he's obviously, as you guys in Alabama know, is a very good football player and still lives in Baltimore.
So, Gentry, I wanted to ask you one more question about the Titans real quick. So with guys like DeAndre Hopkins, maybe even Calvin Ridley's in this conversation as well, do you see any of those, I guess, more important pieces being moved here as we approach the trade deadline and you start to see maybe the Titans go, okay, we need to make a reset on this? Or is DeAndre Hopkins and are those receivers somebody that they want to keep around for potentially bringing in another quarterback next year through the draft? Or what are you hearing about those guys and potentially the Titans' willingness to sell on some of those bigger pieces?
Yeah, I think it would be case by case. I don't see that happening just because I feel like they want to give Will Levis and Brian Callahan kind of the best chance to succeed here right out of the gate this season. But, Ridley is a no. He just signed a big contract. I don't think that would happen in terms of moving the kind of money that they're paying him. Hopkins might make a little more sense. He's on the last year of his deal. But right now, I'd make the case DeAndre Hopkins is their best player. Even he's been dealing with some knee injury stuff, and that would probably hurt any kind of trade value as well. But when he's been out there, he's still a very good player, and I think he would command something in return. So if they wanted to go that way, I think he would be one that you would hear certainly. But at this point, no, I don't necessarily think they're ready to do that yet. It was kind of a strange thing because they kind of towed that line a little bit last year, and we're rebuilding, but we're not. We're going to spend a bunch of money in free agency thinking we got the team now, and so I'm not sure they're ready to punt on it just yet.
Talking to Gentry Estes, the outstanding columnist for the Tennessean, joining us here on Three Man Front. So let's pivot to the college game. Used to cover the University of Alabama on a daily basis. From afar, when you saw the other night against the University of Georgia, doesn't look like that this Alabama team has gone down much since Nick Saban retired.
No, used to cover the University of Georgia for a while too.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
So it's always interesting to me to watch those two. But no, it doesn't. That was a really big win, and I think that look, obviously Nick Saban is an all-time legend. But a big part of that was his ability to recruit and to get more talent than a lot of other teams. And still an awful lot of talent on that team, and I think you're seeing that certainly when you're able to not just win a game like that, but to win it the way Alabama won it. There at the end where, Georgia kind of fought back in a way that showed the kind of a fight and ability they have, and then for Alabama to pull that out, it was a huge result for a new coach that I think is still looking to establish a new culture. And to get a game like that, there's a ton. I'm sure there's a ton of buy-in around that program to what he's trying to do. It's a huge, huge result. I don't know what happens necessarily the rest of the way, but obviously a very, very good football team. And I think it's surprising to an extent just because I think everybody expected that whenever Nick Saban retired, nobody envied that next coach. Everybody just assumed that next coach, it just wasn't going to be the same. And so far it has been. It's a credit to what they're doing over there.
So, Gentry, what you're saying is with Alabama getting Vanderbilt, this could be just the perfect time for Clark Lee and the Commodores to go in and just lay that stinky fish against a team that was riding high on the emotions of that top 5 win the other night.
I'll tell you, I mean, Alabama's probably going to win the game. But I will tell you this, Vanderbilt is better this year than they've been. Maybe in years past, you would expect that game to be 50-0. I don't know if it'll be 50-0, but I feel like that Vanderbilt to me is a little more like those Vanderbilt teams back in the 90s or so, where all right, you're probably going to go beat them, but you may not have a lot of fun doing it. It may be an ugly game, some of those old Jefferson Pilot games.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
17-14. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's going to be that close, but I do think Vanderbilt has gotten a lot better, and they have a quarterback in Diego Pavia who is a handful with the offense they run and his running ability. They're able to do some things to really confuse the defense. So you would expect for any team with what the game Alabama just played that there would be somewhat of a letdown the following week. So I think Alabama's going to win the game, but I don't necessarily think they're going to embarrass Vanderbilt this time.
Okay. One final question on the college scene. So we know you got to get on a flight and get back to Nashville. I want to ask you about Tennessee because until I saw that game the other night between Georgia and Alabama, I was ready to say that Tennessee, as of this moment before that kickoff, was the best team in the SEC. What do you think about that, and what is the ceiling for this Tennessee Volunteer team this season?
Well, the ceiling, I think, is the playoffs and maybe even having a chance to win it all. I do think they're good enough to get in that tournament, and they're good enough to host a game in that tournament. And then after that, can you score enough against that defense to beat a team that's going to do some things offensively and has a lot of weapons and a system that's built to put up points quickly? The big difference for Tennessee this year, I've kind of always said that whenever we got to a point in the Josh Heupel era where people were talking as much about Tennessee's defense as they were his offense, that was when they were actually going to be scary. And I don't think they've gotten to that point until this year. This year they're there. The defense is a lot better, and that makes them a totally different challenge now than the days where you could just outscore Tennessee. And so, I think the upside is there. Now, you talk about best team in the SEC, they've still got to play Alabama and Georgia. I think at 10-2, they would still get in the playoffs. But, we'll see. We'll see. Alabama's got to go to Knoxville here soon, and that could be a pretty good game.
Well said. Gentry Estes, sports columnist for the Tennessean at Gentry_Estes on the app. Great catching up with you, Gentry. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon down the road.
You bet. Take care, guys.
Gentry Estes joining us as all of our guests do on the Buyers Right Hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, Pat. That's a Higginbotham partner.
We are having a lot of fun. A lot of folks still streaming in here at Social Taco. We're on the Taco Terrace upstairs. We'll be here until 2 o'clock. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5.
Three-man front live from National Taco Day here at Social Taco in Homewood. We're here in the Taco Terrace. Great listeners joining us. And they've been here since shortly before 11 o'clock, but we've had new visitors. We always invite you, and this is communal dining upstairs. Nobody's a stranger. It's like everybody knows you. BB, one of our great Jocks listeners, Donna, they came up today. It was their first time, and they were integrated into the group seamlessly. And I was sitting here just worried. How is everybody going to interact? Are they going to enjoy their time? Is Don going to offend someone? That never happened, Pat. Everybody is still here, still enjoying their time, and we have our two new, looks like Florida Gator friends that are there on the left, and they've been conversing back and forth, as you have probably heard Don across your radio.
I just love that somebody now thinks Don's a Florida fan.
Wow.
That's been the best part.
We've seen Don wear Iowa. We've seen him wear Florida. What else have we seen him wear?
It's been a while since I've seen him wear Auburn, I feel like.
So,
he has an Auburn hat on.
So you were just telling me, I know a lot of people, if you're on social media, there's certain people that you follow. And Brett McMurphy from the Action Network, who does a really good job. I've known Brett a very long time. He is very good at his job. He came up in the newspaper business, wrote for the Tampa Bay Times, the St. Petersburg Times. He went to work at ESPN, went from ESPN to CBS Sports, and so, of course, now he's at the Action Network. Breaks a lot of stories. Does a good job. Well, apparently him and Nicole Auerbach. Nicole, former college football writer for The Athletic, who now hosts a show on Peacock during Big Ten football on Saturday nights. She works for NBC in the Big Ten Network. So you were telling me that there's a little bit of back and forth going on Twitter between these two individuals?
Yes. So from what I can tell, the genesis of this...
This was a couple weeks ago, right?
Correct. Okay, so so we shared earlier in the show, if you missed it, that it appears that Gonzaga is headed to the Pac-12 starting in 2026.
Right.
So back on a little over a week ago.
It was the 23rd, September 23rd.
Okay, yes. On September 23rd, Brett McMurphy tweeted, Gonzaga leaving West Coast Conference to join Pac-12, sources tell Action Network HQ. All right, so this is obviously a week before the news we got today when it officially became official. So he then highlights that tweet from a week ago and says, I'm just going to leave this here, just reminding everybody, hey, I called this a week ago, right? So then Nicole Auerbach says, or she tweets, doesn't tag him directly, but she tweets about the Gonzaga move, and she says, it's important to both be accurate and precise in reporting your news.
Oh, boy.
To which Brett McMurphy then retaliates by saying, is the Mel Tucker firing official yet? And then you get Nicole Auerbach firing back to Brett and saying, oh, I thought you just wished coaches happy birthday.
No, no.
So two of the, I guess, notable of the many notable college football figures that you may see at times on your social media feeds are having a little brouhaha.
Well, he's
right
not,
now.
No, he's not. He's also going after John Rothstein from CBS.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah, because once again on September 23rd, when Brett McMurphy tweeted out, Gonzaga is headed to the Pac-12. John Rothstein, being the basketball expert that he is, which does a great job, he fires back, despite reports to the contrary. Gonzaga does not have a deal with the Pac-12.
Which Brett McMurphy then reposted that.
He just reposted that.
Yeah, he saved that receipt.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Hey,
it's fun for us, but this is the part of it that is just so childish to me.
Is there something new? Do we have something new?
Do you want me to read it?
I mean, I kept receipts back in the COVID year with the Wolkins and the Mandels and the Auerbachs that told us for a year and a half, 2 years, why we shouldn't play college football.
Shut it down.
So you've been on the list for a while.
Okay, so going back to Brett's comment about is the Mel Tucker firing official yet, talking about being accurate in your reporting. So Nicole, as I said, she responded, why don't you just go back to wishing football coaches happy birthday and move on? She then followed that up again with another comment. So this is about the Mel Tucker firing, is that official yet? Comment by Brett McMurphy. It certainly wasn't when you said that he was fired. That word means something very specific. I guess you don't care about the accuracy and precision of what you report and hope that being first is, or maybe eventually right, is enough. People see right through you.
Oh, so now we're going
there we
integrity
So now, yep.
of journalists.
Yep. Yep. Are you just doing it for the clicks, or are you worried about being accurate? That's where we are at now.
Fighting words.
All right, so if I'm not mistaken, all right, so Nicole Auerbach, she graduated, I think, from the University of Michigan.
Okay.
Brett McMurphy, could be wrong, but I think he graduated from Oklahoma State.
Okay.
So it's a battle of Oshus, Toshu versus Oshu.
Well, you know how people that went to the University of Michigan, I mean, they're about as bad as people that went to Nebraska in regards
Oh, you
to
said Michigan.
talking about.
I was thinking Ohio State.
I was kidding, Molly. It's a joke.
I know.
Okay.
I will say, though, I did tour Michigan, and even my tour guide told me that maize is yellow with the hint of arrogance, and that's at the University of Michigan, so that's coming
Well, that's
from a
all
tour
you needed
guide.
to hear, Molly. You were good. You said, nope, not going here.
I can't.
Have you ever referred to Crimson as that?
With a
What,
hint of
red
arrogance?
with a shade of arrogance?
With a-
I have not. I have to come up with something for that.
Well, if you're looking to upgrade and enhance your outdoor living area and landscape, our friends at Second Generation Masonry, that's a team for beautifying any area. Their expert team crafts durable brick, concrete, and elegant stone creations that elevate any space, from fire pits, landscape steps, garden walls, stone patios, and walkways, custom driveways. These are your guys. Take your outdoor living area to the next level. Check out Second Generation Masonry at secondgenerationmasonry.com. Get your free quote today and tell them Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
So, Conrad, I was going to ask you, is there any movement in regards to when Tua may be back, if he's going to be back for Miami?
So the last thing that I saw was, so he was meeting with a concussion specialist last week,
Right.
to kind of figure out what the next steps for him would be. So as far as him being placed on injured reserve goes, he is technically available to return in 2 more weeks. I think that would be a little soon. I think that's where a lot of people sit with that, but he can technically return in a couple of weeks. But as far as we know, yeah, he went and met with the specialist last week, and he will let's see. Okay, and there's a bye week thrown in there as well, so that's honestly good for him. So, yeah, the earliest we would see Tua come back would be week 8, which would be 3 weeks from now for the Miami Dolphins. But as far as we've heard, there's no pressure that the Dolphins are putting on Tua to return. He can stay on IR as long as he needs to, and it's more about when he feels comfortable enough to make a return. So,
Do you think he'll be back? Or do you think they're going to need to make a trade? Do you think their season?
I think their season. I think their season's over.
Okay, so if the season is over, should they pursue another quarterback?
It's not the worst idea in the world. I mean, again, if you could go and get somebody like a Russell Wilson who's just kind of sitting there in Pittsburgh and ready to be a starter, I don't hate it because he's only signed for a 1-year deal. But, yeah, I think that's worth it because, I mean, let's say you're 1-4 right now or 1-3 right now. Okay, let's say when he comes back you're 1-5. Are you really going to bring Tua back with the hopes that he can go and win 11 straight games and get you in the playoffs? Like, I think they would be better off bringing in somebody for the rest of the year. Let him take a year off and then come back next year. That's what I would want.
So just technically use a football term, punt.
Yeah, essentially punt on this season and bring him back for next year because, I mean, you got a lot of money tied up in this guy for the future.
All right, joining us now on Three Man Front, the mayor of Social Taco.
That's a great look, Don.
On these Tuesdays.
Yeah, the hat's not working for me.
Yeah.
Don joins us on Three Man Front. You have an announcement, I understand.
I do. It's about my old high school. Homewood High School this Friday night is celebrating the 50-year anniversary of their first state championship back when
50 years.
50 years, and won several over the years, but that was the very first one. Actually, the second year the school was there. Because, most everybody in this area, and my buddy Gary would tell you, they had to go to Shades Valley. My older sister and my older brother, they had to go to Shades Valley. And I think Homewood opened up in 73, I believe. But they're going to have Coach Bressler, Alvin Bressler, who played at Auburn. And Mark Robbins was an Auburn player that played at Homewood, but Murray Legg was the quarterback that year, and he ended up playing at Alabama. And in the state championship game that year, Pat, you remember Stedman Shealy?
Absolutely.
Homewood beat Dothan in that game in the pouring down rain. And that was the year that Tony Nathan and Jeff Rutledge played with Woodlawn and Banks.
Yep.
And Rutledge broke his leg in that famous game at Legion Field where they had 43,000 people at that game.
Yep, sure did.
And Homewood wasn't even supposed to be in the playoffs that year. Tuscaloosa County played an ineligible player and got disqualified.
How about that?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this. Landrum, I know you went to Homewood. You won a state championship, didn't you? Didn't you and Co?
He wears his ring all the time.
Well, he should.
All the time. But I'm telling you what, he's taking that off when we get our Barons rings.
There you go.
He's not wearing his Homewood stuff.
Go.
He's wearing Barons stuff.
There you go. But guys, thank y'all for everything y'all do for us. And every Tuesday, this has become everybody's favorite day up here.
It's a lot of fun. Now today we have, I would say, probably more new members of our Tuesday crew. You agree with that?
I do, and I've heard over the last week or two people telling you on your show. By the way, while I got a chance, I love the YouTube that y'all do and everything. And yesterday, seeing your face with that Georgia caller, I think his name was Dave, I was laughing. I wish you could have seen your face when that guy was calling. God, that was so funny. Everything. Conrad, buddy, how you doing over there, man?
I'm good, Don. I'm just hanging out in my little corner over here.
Conrad's corner.
They put me in my nook because my feet smell because I don't wear socks. So,
as an Auburn fan, congratulations on y'all winning your game, y'all.
I appreciate that, Don.
But the question I have, what would Monday morning been like for y'all if that play had not have happened?
I probably wouldn't have smelled very good. I wouldn't have showered, and probably about 36 hours at that point. No, I mean, look, with the way that the game went, if they had been up that big and lost 34-33 when Georgia took that lead back, I would have been a mess. I'll be honest with you. I would have been very critical of the play calling in the second half, and they got way too conservative, and I still think they got too conservative, but it doesn't matter when you have Ryan Williams and Xavier Brown that can kind of erase that for you.
Exactly. Well, if anybody's going to be mad about play calling, it should be me and my Auburn family.
That is true. That is true.
My goodness gracious. I mean, why throw the ball there? Just punt the ball. But Pat, he finally admitted it yesterday.
He did.
Hey, this is as good a week as any to turn it around, right, Don?
Oh yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, can I give you my prediction right now?
Go ahead.
42-14, Georgia.
42-14.
All right.
Hey, I'm going to give you. You want me to give you a stat to give you some hope?
Yeah,
They've played 34 times in Athens.
I know where this is going.
You know what the record is?
Well, we haven't won there since 2006.
But you know what the overall record is?
Well, it was probably pretty good before the last 10 years.
17-17.
That's what I was going to say. But how many games in a row in Athens has Georgia won?
I know that Georgia has won 7 in a row overall,
right.
10 of the last 11.
Well, I used to go to those games, and the last game I went to was Carnell Williams' freshman year.
Yeah.
Martin Rick was still coaching Georgia. You remember how everybody used to fuss about Les Miles and play calling and clock management? They ran out of time on the 4-yard line in that game. Kind of like Mark Rick ran out of time against Alabama in the
SEC championship.
Game.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank y'all.
Thank you, Don.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much. That is Don, the mayor of Social Taco.
All right. Well, go Homewood Patriots Friday night. We'll all be there.
There you go.
All right.
Big announcement. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it very much. When we come back on 3-Man Front, we'll do some Pat Ponders. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. It is 1:35, Jocks 94.5. Another great, successful Tuesday here at Social Taco. Appreciate everybody showing up, having some wonderful tacos on this National Taco Day, and talking some sports with us.
I have some really good news for Landrum because if you missed my fantasy football segment a few moments ago, Landrum was letting me know that he is very disappointed in Anthony Richardson and his performances, and so he's now stuck with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers just announced that he is dealing with a knee injury, so he is banged up after that disgusting game against the Broncos, so you may be quarterbackless.
Does that mean that he's not playing this week?
He said that his knee is swollen and banged up. So I don't know if that's a, hey, just giving you a heads up that I may not be playing this week or what, but I'm sure a sip of ayahuasca will clear that knee right up for him.
Yeah, only the mushrooms will dictate whether Mr. Rogers suits up.
Well, I did see that. He did an interview with Pat McAfee this morning, and because there's been a lot of rumors talking about how he and Robert Saleh do not like each other.
Yes.
And do not get along, but he told Pat McAfee that they're very close friends. He loves it.
I don't believe that Aaron Rodgers has any close friends, if we're being completely honest.
What was the awkward?
Oh, yeah, it was the hug, but the chest, yeah.
BB's leaving. Think about it, BB.
Bye, BB. Thanks, BB. Nice to meet you. Next Tuesday. Be here. Okay. Your classes up the joint.
We need that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we need that. All right, let's do some Ponders. Brought to you by Courtesy GMC. This is Pat Ponders.
I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
It's time for Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Visit all their great inventory, including some brand new Yukons and Yukon XLs that have been there for only about a week, and they're going fast. Visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com. Question number 1. Monday night had another doubleheader in the NFL. There are 4 Monday Night Football doubleheaders scheduled for this year, up from 3 last season, and there was just 1 back in 2022. Do you guys like the 2 Monday Night Football games, and should there be more?
I was going to say no because it feels like every time you do that, the last 2 weeks, you get 1 stinker and 1 really good game. Like, I understand if Tua didn't get hurt, maybe the Dolphins are more interesting, but, the Dolphins and Titans on Monday, I'm sorry, that's not very intriguing to me. But, if you get something like the Seahawks and Lions, it's great, but I like having the 1 game because otherwise I'm having to kind of pick and choose. Or like last night, once the Lions game started, I did not watch any more of the Titans-Dolphins game.
I want to see doubleheaders.
Okay. More football?
And I know that probably doesn't work out for our friends on the West Coast, but I want to start earlier where we actually get the doubleheader. See, I'm
now
opposite
that
of what
I would
you're
be
talking
okay
about
with
the
that.
stinkers because we get so. How many stinkers on Thursday night did we get last year? And I know we're talking about Monday night, but just these primetime games.
That's a good point.
So tough to predict with the injuries and everything else and roster turnover. I like having the 2 games because you have a better chance of at least getting 1 somewhat meaningful, entertaining game, and we did get that last night.
See, I prefer 1, but I do like what Landrum said about if 1 were to start a little earlier, because I'm with Conrad. Once the Lions and Seahawks game started last night, I might have clicked over to it a few times, the Titans game, but, you're right, that was pretty much a stinker. So I prefer just 1, but if they do it at different times, then I guess it's fine.
Imagine getting, and I know for a lot of people this doesn't work because we have a weird schedule with the way that our jobs work. Imagine you're off at 3:30 or 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon and you got a football game on. I know that scheduling-wise that's not what they're going to do, but I would love that. Have a real doubleheader.
Question number 2. The SEC and Big Ten are about to flex its muscles, demanding more automatic qualifiers in a future 14-team playoff. How many teams do you think the 2 leagues should get apiece moving forward?
I want to say 4, but I feel like 3 might be the more realistic answer.
Well, but it's what you think.
Yeah.
I know.
Not what they will do or should do.
I'll say 4 because this year, I think there are 4 teams that are clearly college football playoff worthy as it stands right now.
So, you think about it, that could work because if you go 14, that means 8 of the 14 would come from those 2 conferences. So you still have 6 where you give 2 automatic qualifiers to the other Power 4 leagues.
Which is the same as if you get 3 SEC and Big Ten teams in now, which is probably what's going to happen.
Right.
4's a number
Anyways.
for me.
I think 4.
Apiece.
If we're going to expand it to more teams in the college football playoff.
Yes, that's if the
Because
expansion comes with it.
there are
yeah.
some years I don't want to be locked into 4 from the Big Ten, or in some years the SEC where you're getting somebody that's not deserving. Ultimately, I do want to see the best teams that we believe in college football competing against one another. I don't want to defeat the purpose because of alliances or contractual things.
So everybody feels 4 is a good number.
4's a good number if we expand it.
To 14.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, next question. Pete Rose passed away yesterday at the age of 83. The all-time hits leader was banned from the Hall of Fame back in 1989 for gambling on the Reds when he was the manager. Do you ever envision a day where Major League Baseball will allow a Rose induction to the Hall of Fame?
Unfortunately, now that he's passed away, I think that you will get it for Major League Baseball. I think that eventually he will be inducted posthumously. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see it too. Again, it's sad, but
Yeah, I think they will, but I mean, that's just a giant slap in the face to me. If I'm the Pete Rose family from MLB, it's okay. So you couldn't have given him this honor when he was still living. You literally had to wait until his lifetime sentence was over because he's no longer here. It's a politically correct move on MLB's part that should have been made a long time ago anyway. So if you're just doing it now because he passed away, I think that's a little bit disrespectful, but I still hope they do it.
I wonder if he does get inducted posthumously, if that affects the value of his memorabilia. Now, I'm sure the value of his memorabilia probably, unfortunately, went up after his passing yesterday in Las Vegas at the age of 83, but I just wonder how much that affects that market.
It could. I was fortunate I got a...
Do you think it ever happens?
I do. And I think what will happen is, as this old guard gets off the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Writers Association of America, which is the demographics is very, very old. And once those guys start cycling off, I think you're going to see a newer attitude to where you're going to see people like Bonds and Rodriguez.
So do you think they just make like a new wing of the Hall of Fame and it's the asterisk ring? Like seriously, I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Because I think those guys would say I would rather not be in it if you're going to.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that you have to put on their plaque whatever discrepancy someone had why you weren't in to begin with. Like if you're wanting to say that this player tested positive for steroids in this year or whatever, or he was banned from baseball in 1989 because he was found in regards to violation of the MLB code of conduct of betting on your own baseball team. Whatever the case may be, but
just put a mold of Barry Bonds' head when he was on the Pirates and then a mold of his head when he was on the Giants for comparison.
Yeah. But I do think
I figured it out.
I do think all of those guys will ultimately get in. It just may not be in the next 10 years.
Okay, so you think it'll probably be a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, along with today being National Taco Day, it is International Coffee Day. What is your go-to coffee order?
Hot and black.
I like a cold brew.
Sorry. Vanilla latte, that's fine. With
What?
cinnamon. Vanilla latte. That's my coffee order. I was sorry.
What's going on with this kid?
Nothing. I was laughing at my coffee
Vanilla
order.
latte. Really?
Yeah, a little cinnamon on top.
You order that in
Those are
public?
good.
Honestly.
Get Paige to go in and get it for you.
Yes.
Hey, go get me a coffee.
Most of the time I do, yes.
Give me the frou-frou coffee.
They're good. If I just get a normal coffee, though, yeah, I'll just take coffee with some cream. Like
Little Whip.
I'll just get like the whatever Pike roast or whatever it is at Starbucks and put some creamer in there, and I'm good to go. Yes, I like a vanilla latte. Sue me. They're good.
No,
they're good.
That's you. You be you. I just thought it was funny when you said
and Landrum,
vanilla latte.
you said hot and black.
Hot and black. Yep.
Coffee.
It's nice and easy.
Tall, hot and black. Yes.
Coffee.
Yep.
Okay. Just make sure. Just clarifying.
You don't drink coffee, do you?
I do not.
How many cups of coffee have you had in your life?
I think 2.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you drink
Didn't agree with you?
No, it was not that. I just didn't like the taste of it.
Huh.
I was forced to at a couple of baseball games I went to. One, I went to a Detroit Tiger Kansas City Royals game.
I'm just imagining someone holding down Pat and forcing him to drink
No,
coffee.
it was in April, and it was snow. My dad and I went to a Kansas City Royals Detroit Tigers game at Royal Stadium, and it was in April, and it was snowing. It was literally snowing, and the only thing hot that they had drink-wise
was coffee.
So.
Did you just hold it in your hands mainly?
Yeah, and I tried to sip on it, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Now just,
I put so much creamer and sugar and everything else in it, but I was.
Oh, and you still didn't like it?
No.
If you had ordered a vanilla latte.
Now, yeah.
Hey, those are damn good. I don't care what y'all say; those are good. I was debating whether I should admit that on the radio, but here we are. Too late for that now.
I mean, you admit doing things in the shower that most people won't ever admit.
Seriously?
Yeah, but that's masculine. Vanilla latte is not as masculine, I don't feel like.
Okay, all right. That's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC.
Oh, they're already rolling in, aren't they?
Bird texted in, hot and black sounds like my wife, April. Thank you, Bird. Appreciate it. More three-man front as we continue here on this National Taco Day, live from Social Taco in Homewood on Jocks 94.5.
It is 1:50, Jocks 94.5. Paul Feinbaum Show coming up at the top of the hour. A reminder, you can listen to the Atlanta Braves tonight as they take on the San Diego Padres. You can hear that on our sister station, 100.5 Jocks 2.
Choptober, baby. Let's get it done. Is Max Fried still listed as a probable starter, according to Las Vegas?
Let me take a quick gander there, my friend. No, he is not. Shawver.
A.J. Smith Shawver.
Yep.
Makes more sense.
Yep. He is now listed as the starter going up against King.
Well, he's had plenty of rest. Last time we saw him pitch
So it's
was at Wrigley
interesting.
Field way early in the season, and he pitched great.
So Atlanta on the money line when Max Fried was listed, they were plus 150. They're now plus 166 on the money line.
Okay.
With Smith Shawver pitching.
I will say, how good was Holmes yesterday, though, coming in after Sale got knocked out with the back spasms? I was super impressed by what he did in Game 2 for y'all yesterday.
No, he was solid.
He was good. He's no Schwelly, but he's good.
No. Who is a Schwelly?
Did Gary come over and watch the nightcap with you?
Mm-mm. Nope. I told him I wasn't going to watch the nightcap. I watched. And it wasn't to keep Gary away. I was so pissed off about the first game.
Were you?
Yeah, I was. I was really upset.
Steve Cohen said that's one of the best games he's ever seen.
Well, he would say that because about time his team actually got in the playoffs.
I was about to say his investment's paying off a little bit now.
You know, and I totally expected it to happen, but then when you go back and you score 4 in the bottom of the 8th, and then you give up a 2-run bomb, and it wasn't good for me emotionally. Just a lot of collaboration of emotions going on.
Who do you despise more, Freddie Freeman or Francisco Lindor?
Oh, it's Freddie Freeman.
Okay.
No, I have nothing. I have nothing against Lindor.
Okay. I just didn't know if after yesterday that changed.
No. Do you have something bad you've seen?
Yes, I do, Landrum.
All right. Let's go.
I'll shower it over you.
No, you won't. Let's go to the corner. This is the worst thing that Conrad's seen.
This is the worst thing I've seen.
Been in quarantine, and I need to get out and party. Woo! What's better than beach and a few drinks and Jeeps? Man, getting better than that. Law enforcement's definitely made their visitability and made people chill out and not be as crazy.
The cops are doing their job as long as they don't be mean to people who are actually being innocent. Then I'm all gravy, baby.
All right, for the worst thing that I have seen today, we're going to head to China. China. And as this actually happened exactly 1 week ago today, back on September the 24th. So some of you may have seen this viral video, or at least a picture of it, that went viral over the weekend. But there was a problem with a large amount of sewage pipes, and part of the Guangxi portion of China. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. But there were a number of sewage pipes that bursted on the middle of the street and essentially rained down poop.
No.
On all of the people driving on a very busy road in China. And there is video where you can see the sewage pipe burst, and apparently people there are calling it not a volcano, but a poo-cano. Because
or as Nick Saban would call it, an expletive storm.
That's right. Because if you look at the video, according to reports, the poop went up to 30 feet in the air before it began showering down on pedestrians who were driving by. And there's dash cam footage of people's vehicles. You can see that. I mean, it looks like they're going through a car wash, but instead of soap, it's poop. According to Chinese authorities, they are blaming the bursted pipes on newly laid sewage pipes that ruptured during a construction crew stress test. So they were implementing the new pipes, making sure that they were all good to go, which they were obviously not, and this resulted in 30 feet of poop spewing over a very busy roadway in China last Tuesday.
No.
So that, if you think that, look, I understand traffic's annoying. There are a number of bad things that can happen to you when you're driving to and from work, to and from home, whatever. That's one of the worst that I would imagine could happen. I mean, I mean, I guess you wash your car when you get home, but I mean, I hope you didn't have your window rolled down, or heaven forbid someone's sunroof was open. Or imagine you're in a convertible. What do you do then? You don't have time to pull over and put it up. Like, you're just stuck. Are you not? I mean,
I don't know how many people over in China with the
drive
air quality or
convertibles?
the lack thereof, or riding around with a convertible.
I was about to say, in the videos I didn't see many convertibles, but just some food for thought there. But yeah, so it could be worse. You could be driving through poop. A poo-cano. That's the best part, is that they're calling it a poo-cano.
The poo-cano?
Yeah, that's great. It's disgusting, but great. So that is the worst thing that I've seen.
All right, so the Major League Baseball playoffs begin today. I want to go ahead and alert Landrum, because he's going to tune into the game on Jox 2.
Yes.
But he's also going to have a secondary, probably a monitor. You're going to probably sync up your TV with
It's bowling night tonight.
Oh, is it?
Ooh. I like the later start. It's good for us.
Okay. Well, the reason I was going to alert you, because a reminder that Major League Baseball has sold its soul to another sponsor. And so now all the batting helmets during the playoffs and World Series will have a logo of the company Strauss. It's a German company. And they have signed with Major League Baseball over the course of the next few years. So Strauss will be on all batting helmets.
When I think baseball, I think Germany.
Da!
Ha! Ich habe.
Oh, what's the score? Give me an update, Molly. What's the score, Tigers?
3-0.
Ooh, 3-0 now.
That's right.
Take down those Astros, those cheaters.
Kitty.